Holy God, loving Creator, I ask your infinite and indomitable Spirit to inspire and guide this gathering of patriots to what is true and required for revitalizing the greatness, the prosperity, and the safety for this country and its citizens, and reconfiguring our unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I pray your amazing grace will unite us with the same faith and fortitude that enabled this country's founding fathers to pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor for the cause and sake of securing liberty and our precious personal freedoms, and blessed us with a Constitution that serves as a beacon of hope for all the freedom-seeking and freedom-loving people. Compassionate Heavenly Father, I also need to pray for the welfare of all of our heroic men and women in uniform and their families who are serving and sacrificing to defend and protect us. Surround them with your abiding love and support. Mercifully console the wounded and suffering, and give eternal peace to all who have died in the service for this truly exceptional nation. And finally, gracious God, in this turbulent and dangerous time in which we live, I pray that our next president will heed the immortal words of the prophet Micah. O mortal one, what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. May Almighty God continue to bless these United States and our courageous candidate, Donald J. Trump.
Back there. We are so thankful today to have you all here and be together to show the rest of this country how we're going to unite from here on. Poor Hillary's still running around trying to be chased by Bernie or who knows what. Can't let her. She wants to go to back to the White House and collect the rest of the silver. But we're going to show them different. It's going to be a landslide because we are going to do it. We're privileged to have today with us a young lady who arrived from India at age 2. Grew up in rural North Carolina with conservative roots that carry to this day, and living the true American dream, a businesswoman and attorney. She's now the vice chair of the California Republican Party to lead us in our pledge. Please welcome Ms. Harmeet Dillon.
Well, this is a tremendous honor. As Leo mentioned, and both of us were born under different flags. My parents brought me to this United States for freedom, for opportunity, and for a brighter future. And so the opportunity to salute this flag means a lot to me. Whether you were born under this flag or whether you chose it, please join me in placing your hand over your heart or saluting as appropriate, removing your hat if appropriate, and saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, thank you. And let's make America great again. Thank you.
It's truly remarkable that we can have so many people here. You know, I just drove in from San Francisco. That's right, I live in the belly of the beast, you know. But I've never seen so many people running up to me to say, I'm voting for Trump. I said, you're a lifelong Democrat. Not anymore. I had the former mayor, Democratic mayor of an important city in Daly City, excuse me, shouldn't have said that, sit in my desk 2 weeks ago and said, I'm voting for Trump. I don't like what Hillary represents. And because we're from the Bay Area and we frequently get to AT&T Park, I always hear this great voice singing the national anthem, and it just inspires me. It just gives you goosebumps to hear this thing. And I find out that voice hails and lives now in San Jose, and he's a lifelong musician, a great composer, an artist, a fantastic voice from local radio, inducted into San Jose Rock Hall of Fame, big personality, well-known, author. It's just great. You got to go to his website. This is a real privilege to hear the national anthem from this voice. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Greg King.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you.
USA! 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 And they wonder how we cannot be so proud of this nation that has received so many people from all over the world and has done so much good without taking anything. Who can say they're American and trample a flag? Who can hoist a foreign flag on our territory? Can't be done. Let's give thanks for our veterans. And let's not forget our moms and apple pie. Absolutely. Let's also remember today, we've had a couple of police officers shot in the Bay Area. Blue lives do matter. When they injure a police officer, they injure every one of us. Our first responders, our firemen, our emergency personnel, thank you for being here today and providing all these support services. But most importantly, hold on, because the real show's about to begin. Thank you so much. God bless us all. God bless America.
In recent years, this country's gone to hell, and the crack's getting bigger on the side of that Liberty Bell. Well, Clinton, Obama, and the Democratic crew sure did a number on me and you. It wasn't my vote, you can blame yourselves for that. But we got a chance to turn things around if you get your butt up off the ground and understand we're all gonna have to work. This big old country was built on sweat, and if we're gonna make it great again, you're gonna get wet. But the first things first, we all gotta vote for Trump. Vote for Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. And to hell with the rest, he'll get us over the hump. And down the road, we'll all go, and the wall will get built by Mexico. But first things first, we all gotta vote for Trump. He understands the working man, tells the truth that we can understand. If you don't like it, you can all just kiss our ass. Kiss our ass. He pays his own way, don't take no crap. Wanna bring back country, get rid of rap. And if nothing else, we can all thank Donald for that. Thank you, Donald. Vote for Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. To hell with the rest, he'll get us over the hump. And down the road, we'll all go, and the wall will get built by Mexico. But the first things first, we all gotta vote for Trump. Well, little Marco and Lion Ted, it's time to go home and crawl in bed. The campaign's over and the big fat ladies sing. And Hillary Clinton don't stand a chance with her preacher hair and her old man pants. Take Bill home, good God, he's getting old. Now let's vote for Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Yeah, to hell with the rest, he'll get us over the hump. And down the road, baby, we'll all go, and the wall's getting built by Mexico. Well, first things first, we all gotta vote for Trump. Jesus says, vote for Trump.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. What an honor. Thank you. Latinos for Trump, that's what I like. I love that. Latinos, we're doing well with the Latinos. Nobody knows about it yet. We're bringing so many jobs in. You watch what happens. The Hispanics, we love the Hispanics. Thank you, everybody. So I said to my people, what the hell are you doing? Who's going to come tonight? You have San Francisco playing the game tonight. And look at this crowd. This is unbelievable. Well, we'll speak a little bit faster tonight so you go home to the game, okay? No. Let's take our time. Anyway. Well, thank you all very much. It's been an amazing period of time. You know, you had the 1237, right? 1,237 delegates, and I promised everybody, I told everybody we were going to hit that number, and now we're going to hit a number that's way, way above, way, way above. Remember, they all said, oh, you have the convention, and the convention's going to be a big deal, and I said, we're not going to the convention for that. We're going to the convention as victors before the convention ever starts. So we're going to have a great time in Ohio. We're going to have a great time in Cleveland, Ohio. And I really appreciate this turnout. This is fantastic. I really do. So on Tuesday, you got a big vote coming up. I mean, honestly, we already won. But in terms of mandate, in terms of going out there and really getting it, I hope you can go out, vote. And you know, we have a few states, right? It's the end. It's the end. Now, here's what's important. In the history of the Republican Party, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan, everybody. In history, we have the most votes ever cast for a Republican candidate. Never happened before. And by millions of votes. And the amazing thing about that is, I think we do even better in November because we're going to take a lot of people from the Democrats. You know, Bernie Sanders, the system was rigged on him. I think we're going to get a lot of people from Bernie. We'll see what happens. I mean, I watched Hillary today. It was pathetic. It was pathetic. It was so sad to watch. And, you know, she's up there and supposed to be a foreign policy speech. It was a political speech. Had nothing to do with foreign policy. She made a political speech tonight, folks, and it was a pretty pathetic deal. But listen, on Tuesday, so we have California, we have Montana, we have New Jersey, we have New Mexico, we have South Dakota. So we have those states, and that's the end. And at the end of the night, we will be many, many, many millions of votes ahead of the highest vote getter in history. And that tells you something. Now, you're a hell of a crowd. You don't like basketball very much. You are a great crowd. Man. Thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you, folks. I'm telling you. So, we are in a movement. They've never seen anything like it. Some people, many people, even people that hate me, the pundits, who are totally dishonest, by the way, but that's okay. Some of these pundits have even said, almost all of them, that there's never been anything like this that's ever happened in the United States. Never been. Amazing. Yesterday, we had an amazing crowd. We had these airport hangars packed with people. And a friend of mine said, I loved your speech yesterday. You know, it's on all the networks. It's all over the place. He said, were there any people there? I said, yeah, it could have been like 20,000 people. I couldn't tell. They never show the people. They never, ever show it. But who cares? Do we agree? Who cares? People are getting it. People are getting the idea. People are getting the idea. So what we have to do is this. We have a movement going on We're on the cover of every newspaper, every magazine, Time magazine, many times. I just learned they're doing yet another cover on Trump. I love that. You know, Time magazine's a good magazine. You grow up reading Time magazine. Whoever thought you'd be on the cover of Time magazine, especially so much. And it's all about the movement. It's all about the fact that we're taking back our country. And by the way, we're going to be very inclusive to everybody. We're going to be very inclusive to everybody. I know we have a lot of people, they're angry at what's happened. We have a lot of smart people that are making less money now than they did 18 years ago, and they're working twice as hard, okay? We are going to bring our jobs back, folks. We're going to bring back sanity to our country. We're going to bring those jobs back. And we're not going to let the jobs go so easy. You know, I talk all the time about Ford and Carrier and Nabisco, where they leave and they move their plants to Mexico and other places. And there's no consequence. There's going to be a big consequence. Let me give you an example, okay? It's so easy. For 6 years, I've been watching politicians saying, we have to stop the onslaught of people leaving, of companies leaving our country. I've been watching this in amazement. I never thought I was going to be doing this. Have I done a good job? Okay? Have I done a good job? You know, it's funny, before I get there. So I've been doing this now for 10 months. And they had an article, one of the magazines, said it was 10 months versus 200 and some odd 100 years of experience. Because we ran against 17 people, and if you add up all of their tenure, it's 200 and something years. So for 10 months, with no experience, we are doing well, folks, I'll tell you. But don't let the no experience fool you. I've been on the other side of the equation. I hate to tell you this. I was very much a part of the establishment. I was a big donor, and I was on the other side. But I know the system better than anybody else because I know how it works on both sides. I've been there so long. I know so much about lobbyists and special interests and whatever the hell you want. And with me, you're getting me. I'm representing just you. Just you. So, on the primaries, I spent $55 million of my money. And in fact, somebody said, I guess for legal purposes, they put it down as a loan, where I loaned myself $55 million. I will say to you tonight, I've been saying it all the time, I'm going to determine, I don't even want it as a loan. I don't even know why. When somebody does it, they always put it down as a loan. I'm not paying myself back. We're wiping out that loan. I'm in for $55 million. I turned down, and it always was intended to be that way. Sometimes the lawyers do things you say, why are you doing that? They almost can't explain it. But it seems that many people do that. But we're terminating that. Millions and millions of dollars was offered to me, and I said, no, I'm not interested in it. Now what we're doing is we're working with the Republican National Committee. They have treated me fairly, by the way, or I guess I wouldn't be here. Yeah, I think I would have been no matter what, because frankly, we won by such landslides that no matter what they wanted to do, right? We won so big, no matter what they wanted to do. You know, I tell the story all the time about the prize fighters. They go out and they fight in somebody's home territory. And I know so many of the prize fighters. I have a lot of prize fights. I've always liked it. I've held many. More Mike Tyson fights than anybody else. But I've had a lot of fights. And I'll say, why are you going to that community? A lot of money there, Mr. Trump, a lot of money. But if you come to a judge's call, they're going to rule against you if it's a close fight. Not even if it's a close fight. They're going to rule against you, period. They said, there's only one way to solve that, Mr. Trump. I got to knock him out. And that's what we did. That's what we did. Because it's a rigged system. It wasn't meant for me to win. The system isn't set up like that. But we won in New Hampshire so big. I love New Hampshire. We're going to solve they have a tremendous drug problem, heroin, in New Hampshire. We're going to solve that problem. We are going to solve the problem that's coming in from the southern border. We want to solve the drugs that are pouring in to our country. We're going to solve it, okay? We're going to solve it. But we won New Hampshire. We're going to build that wall. Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. And who's going to pay for the wall? Who? 100% right, okay? 100%. You know, I was watching coming in, I have the television, and I'm watching, and one of the shows had, a poll came out. And I like the poll because I'm doing very well. And in some of the polls now, I'm beating Hillary Clinton, and quite easily. We love that. We love it. Fox had a very good poll, came out a couple of days ago. We're #1, and we're right around. That's, believe me, folks, when you watched her today, she does not look presidential. That I can tell you. She does not. This is not a president. 4 more years of this stuff, and I'll tell you, we're not going to have a country left, believe me. And if I win, believe me, make America great again, and it's going to be greater than ever before. We have a chance to be greater than ever before. Greater than ever before. But a poll came out, and it said, do you think Trump is going to build the wall? These people just don't understand. Remember when I first announced, they said, do you think Trump is serious? And the pundits would say, well, he's not going to run. And then if he runs, so then I announced I was running. But if he runs, he's only going to have fun for a couple of weeks, build up his brand, my brand. I get killed. I had such a beautiful brand. I get killed with my brand with this stuff. You know why? If you get 55%, you have a landslide. That means that 45% of the people hate you. In the old days, I had 100% of the people that loved me. Now I have 55% of the people that love me. But really more than that, if you look at the last, oh, that's okay, don't worry about it. He's very quiet. Let him enjoy himself. I want him to enjoy it. We need our protesters. I love my, no, leave him alone. Leave him. That's okay. It's all right. That's all right. Now leave him alone. We got to be nice. Don't forget, the only one I hear are you people. I don't hear him. All right. Don't hurt him. See the way I say that? I've learned. Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him, please. No, he's fine. I would have left him here because he was fine. But here, wow, look at all the people that are forming back there. This is crazy. Man. It is true, though. I said, where the hell? These people are going to be at the game. I don't know how many people are at the game, but this is better. Is this more fun than the basketball game? And you know what's more importantly? Honestly, it's a lot more productive. And I like basketball and all of that. This is about America first. This is about putting our country first. It's about showing people that we're not going to be listening to stupid people anymore, that we're not going to have people making deals like the Iran deal, like the Sergeant Bergdahl deal. They get, I mean, think of it. They get 5 of the people that they've wanted for 8 years, and we get Sergeant Bergdahl, a traitor, where 5 people were killed looking for him. These are the deals, the 5-for-1. I call him the 5-for-1 president. So we're not going to do that stuff anymore, folks. Those days are over. The days of the Iran deal where they get $150 billion, we get nothing in that deal, nothing, except laughed at and scorned. And then I watch Hillary Clinton. She started the foundation of that deal, and now she's proud of it. But she's only proud of it for one reason. You know why? Because Obama wants it. Anything Obama wants, she's going forward with Because you know why? She doesn't want to go to jail. That's why, folks. That's why. Remember, Hillary Clinton used to hate Obama. She used to hate him. Bill Clinton hated him. Bill Clinton hated him. He called Bill Clinton a racist. Do you remember that? Bill Clinton hated him. And Hillary Clinton hated Obama. Now it's, yes, sir, Mr. President, sir. Yes, sir. What would you like? What would you like me to say here, sir? The only reason she's behaving like this, and the only reason she's been dragged so far left, believe me, is she doesn't want to go to jail over the emails, okay? Believe me, that's the only reason. One simple reason. Because you know what, folks? I used to say, leave it up to the lawyers. I have watched so many lawyers on so many different networks. I have read so much about the emails. Folks, honestly, she's guilty as hell. She's guilty as hell. And the fact that they even, and this is true, the fact that they even allow her to participate in this race is a disgrace to the United States. It's a disgrace to our nation. It's a disgrace. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I've always had great confidence in the FBI, I must tell you. I have great respect. I know some FBI folks. I've always had great confidence in them. I can't believe that they would let this go. When you look at General Petraeus, he got the equivalent of 2 years. He did nothing compared to her. You look at some of these other people, their lives have been destroyed. What she did is 20 times worse, what she did. And now her guys are taking the Fifth Amendment. The whole thing, it's a mess. And she keeps running like there's nothing, no problem. I'm telling you, there's a great system we have. We have a great country. We're going to make it a lot greater, by the way. But we love our country. Look, we love our country. And I don't believe our country can let her get away with this crime. I don't believe it. So we'll see. And you know what? If they do let her get away with it, it will be a big topic of conversation on the campaign trail. I can tell you that, folks. And then if I win, it's called a 5-year statute of limitations if I win. Now, everything's going to be fair, but I'm sure the Attorney General will take a very good look at it from a fair standpoint, okay? I'm sure. I think it's disgraceful. So we have a very important race. We're doing amazingly well. Some of the pundits are saying the most phenomenal thing they've ever seen in government. Newt Gingrich said the other night, there's never been anything like this, and he's a historian, a great historian. There's never been anything like this in the history of our country. We go like this crowd. We have great crowds, right? We always have great crowds. I mean, look at this place. Look at this. Amazing. This is amazing. Hey, cameras, why don't you take a look at this, please, if you would. They don't turn. They don't turn. The other night, Crazy Bernie, he's a crazy guy, but he's doing okay. He is nuts. He is a total nut job, but you know what? He's doing okay. And by the way, he does get the second biggest audience, is nothing like us, not even close. And everybody knows it. But here's the difference. So the other night, they said, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump, here's Donald Trump. I had like a tremendous, I don't know, close to 20,000 people. And this happens all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is speaking now, and he's just finishing up, and blah, blah, blah. Then, when everyone leaves, they usually have somebody standing there. The place is empty. It looks like a garbage dump, all this, everything gone. And they'll say, Donald Trump just spoke, and blah, 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 and then let's all fall asleep. Okay. Then, they have Bernie Sanders. He had 3,000 people. Bernie Sanders had a tremendous crowd tonight of 3,000 people. Unbelievable crowd. And I'd have 20, and they don't mention it. Just like when I said to the cameras, turn around and show these people, even during this big game in this territory. It's amazing to me. I mean, it's incredible. But, honestly, even coming here, I said to my people, are you crazy to be having it at that location? It's a great honor. But look, we have to vote. We have to do a mandate. We have to win. And one of the biggest reasons we have to do this for United States Supreme Court justices. I put a very, very big list of great justices. Oh, that's okay. Will you behave? Where is he? Where is he? Where? That's all right. Leave her. Let her stay. That's all right. She's got a little Bernie sign up. You know, it was given to her. Did Bernie give it to you himself? It's all right. Sad, actually. No, that's okay. Let her stay. There's no problem. I don't mind. You know, they send him in with the little Bernie sign made in China. You know, it's a little Bernie sign. It's a pretty sad thing. I mean, unfortunately, I was talking about the system. So the Republican system was rigged, but we won by knockouts. The Bernie system is totally rigged. They have superdelegates. Darling, there's no way he can win, but keep your sign hanging high, okay? There's no way. Which is a shame. Now, Bernie and I do agree on one thing. We agree that the United States is getting ripped off like crazy on trade. So on that, I agree. That's why I think a lot of the people are going to come to me when this is all over. The Bernie people are going to be voting for Trump because that's such a big thing. Our wealth is being drained out of us. It's being just taken like we're a bunch of dopes, This year, we have a trade deficit with China of $505 billion. We have a massive trade deficit with Vietnam, with Japan, with Mexico. You could name any country, virtually any country we deal with, we have a trade deficit. It used to be the other way around when we were smart and strong. But we haven't been smart and strong for many, many decades, and we're going to change that around, folks. We're going to change it around. We're going to change it around. Now, we have to change it around. We can't keep going like this. We can't. It's not like we have a choice. Oh, gee, let's go like this for another 25 years. If we're going to save our Social Security, and I'm the only one that's going to save it, believe me, without cuts. If we're going to save our Medicare, if we're going to save all of these things that we have to save, we have to bring our jobs back, and we have to make sure that nobody's taking our jobs anymore, folks. And we're going to do that. We're going to do it. So, remember a couple of things. Hillary Clinton wants to abolish the Second Amendment. She wants to abolish it. Abolish it. The NRA, National Rifle Association, last week endorsed Donald Trump. I believe it's the earliest endorsement they've ever given to a presidential candidate. And I give that credit to my sons. They've been members for a long time. So have I. But my sons are fantastic. And they really, and by the way, I have to say this. Wayne and Chris and all of the people that I've met at the NRA, these are great people. They're great Americans. They love the people of this country. They want the people of this country to be safe. These are great people. So I want to thank them for the endorsement. National Rifle Association. Okay, so let me go back for a second. So I said that Carrier, Nabisco, Ford, all these, they're all leaving. Here's what happens. Let's say that a company like Carrier announces they're going to leave. I'm going to say very simply, and it's going to be very, very strong and very, very simple. Folks, if you leave, here's the consequence. You're going to be taxed at the rate of 35% for every single air conditioning unit that you bring back into our country, okay? Okay? Very simple. Now, I've been watching politicians in Washington for 7 years trying to figure out how to stop companies from leaving. They're all leaving. You know, I shouldn't do it because I'll ruin your night, but I have stats on San Jose. Not good. Not good. You're losing your manufacturing. 1 in 3 manufacturing jobs lost. Hillary ran up a $1 trillion trade deficit with China while she was Secretary of State. So many different things. Since Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, probably the worst economic deal we've ever made in this country. Since then, California has lost 1 in 4 of its manufacturing jobs. I mean, I could go on, except it's statistics, folks, done by my statistician. He thinks it's the most exciting job in the world. I don't want to depress you, okay? But it's just terrible. NAFTA was signed by Bill Clinton. It's probably the worst economic deal made by our country maybe ever. You look at New England, you look at upstate New York, you look at way out on the island in New York, the places have been wiped out. Pennsylvania, I love Pennsylvania. We're going to win Pennsylvania, by the way. We won all of these. You know, in the primaries, they said, well, we'll stop him right after New York. So we had Pennsylvania landslide. We had Maryland landslide. We had Connecticut landslide. We had Rhode Island and Delaware landslide. Then they came to Indiana. That was going to be the firewall. Remember Indiana? Bobby Knight. 900 wins. And Bobby said, I want to endorse you, man. I want to endorse you. You're the guy that can turn this country around. And Bobby Knight walked into an arena. We had 20,000 people, and they gave him a hand for 5 minutes. I said, you know, this is one of the few endorsements I think is going to work out very nicely. And I won the state of Indiana in a landslide. In a landslide. And I think, and I'm not even talking about landslide, but I think we can win the state of California and win it pretty substantially. Now, I've been told by all these geniuses, you know, all these brilliant guys, they all say, you can't win the state of California. I think we can. Look at the crowd. I mean, look at this crowd during the Warriors game. Look at this. This is crazy. During the big basketball game. In fact, I'm thinking about leaving and watching it myself. Bye, everybody. No, I mean, during the game. So here's the story. Here's the story. I think we're going to run hard in California, and I'm going to run hard in New York, too. These are 2 states that no other Republican candidate would ever even try to run, right? But I'm going to run hard in California. You got to be with me. I think we can win California. And if we win California, the election is over, folks. It's over. We win. And then we will make America great again, believe me. It's over. Now, with that being said, ever even tried to run, right? But I'm never even tried to run, right? But I'm going to be easier. This is going to be easier because we have such unbelievable momentum going here with what we're doing. We are going to do things that nobody's ever seen before. We've already done that. When they are saying, Bill O'Reilly, in his life, he said, this is the single greatest political phenomena he's ever witnessed. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. We are going to do things that you've never seen before. And we're going to get along great with these countries. You know, I watched Hillary's thing today, which was hard. It's like taking Sominex. To watch her is like Sominex. You ever hear of Sominex? Sleep all night. It's hard to stay awake when, I'm not a big sleeper. I think she could make more money if she made speeches and sold them for people that can't sleep. It was hard. But she lies so much. She said, Donald Trump wants Japan to put in nuclear weapons. No. That's not what in a deal, you always have to be prepared to walk. We have a lot of business people. We have 4 or 5 of them that I know that are friends of mine. You know I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building, right? So I want you to make San Francisco good, but I own a big chunk of that building. And I will tell you, in a deal, you have to be prepared to walk. You can't go into a deal and say, I'm not walking. Now, crooked Hillary said, we will always stand by our partners. We will never leave. We will stand by our partners. We never, ever will leave. These are great allies. She said, China is jealous of us. And she said, who else is jealous? She said, China and Russia are jealous of our relationships. They're not jealous. They think we're stupid. We give them free defense. They think we're stupid. She's saying that China and Russia are essentially envious or jealous of our partnership with all of these people that are taking our money. So here's the story. Here's what I say. Remember this, and I have to tell you, the New York Times is a terrible newspaper. It's failing. But David Sanger, very good writer, did a very accurate story. The Washington Post is a totally dishonest newspaper, totally. I mean, they are the worst. But the New York Times, pretty bad. Hey, how about the story they did a week ago about Donald Trump and women, and then all the women came back and they said, that's not true. We love Donald Trump. Right? Right? The story was a fraud. In fact, I saw the women. I said, oh, that's great news for me. They're going to say good. And then I read this stuff. I said, man, I can't believe that she would say it or she would say it. So you had Carrie Prejean, and she said, no way, I didn't say that. And you had Roanne, and she said, there's no way. I have great respect for Donald Trump. He treated me great. He was a great guy. You had all these women. You had one woman said, I told her not to eat that piece of candy. This is I had a lot of friends call me up and they say, we're really disappointed in you, man. Tell you what. And this was a woman, okay, like 25 years ago. I put her in charge of construction of a building. She was fine, okay. Then she went to another company. She wanted to come back. She begged me to come back. But I gave her a job. Remember, her name was Ress. I gave her a job that no other woman had ever been in charge of building a massive skyscraper in New York. No, Trump Tower. I gave her the job. She went to another company, thought probably she got $2 more only because she worked for me. She got $2 more. Then all of a sudden, that didn't work out. For many years, she's been writing me letters saying, you're the greatest, I'd love to come back to work for you. You're the greatest. She even wrote me one letter saying that I'm not sexist. I said, what the hell does that have to do? She wrote me a letter or an email. I love emails. You can't erase emails. You can't erase them. I love them. Because I said to Rona, my executive assistant, I said, Rona, didn't this Barbara write me emails wanting to come back? Well, I'll find out. She comes back 2 minutes later. She's got a whole pile of emails. By the way, Hillary Clinton is missing 30,000 emails. They've been deleted. 30,000. 30,000 emails. And remember I said I was a counterpuncher? I am. After what she said about me today in her phony speech, that was a phony speech. That was a Donald Trump hit job. I will say this, Hillary Clinton has to go to jail, okay? She has to go to jail. Has to go. That was a phony hit job. She's guilty as hell. So this woman, Barbara Ress, is praising me that Donald Trump is great. Mr. Trump, I'd love to have a job. Could I go use a hotel? All this stuff. And then she writes a letter that I'm not sexist. Okay. I never had anybody. By the way, anybody that writes a letter without the words being mentioned, that you're really good and you're not sexist. Anybody puts that in a letter, that you know they're trouble, okay? Don't hire that person because you know they're trouble. Because that means it's right on their mind. Does that make sense to anybody? Out of nowhere. So this terrible person, I gave her a job, the opportunity of a lifetime. She took the job. I got it completed. She was gone, wanted to come back. I didn't take her. Remember this. Now, she writes a book, and the book is great about me. She said great things about me. That was 4 or 5 years ago. All of a sudden, I see these sleazebags, this guy named Barbero, who's an absolute sleazebag, terrible writer. He's a terrible writer. He wrote the story on the women, and he was very embarrassed, and they should do a retraction of the story or an apology. If they were real people, they would do an apology. But the other woman that didn't apologize was this woman. So I gave this woman the break of a lifetime. You talk about breaking the glass ceiling. And she comes out and she said bad things. Now, about the worst thing she said was that I told her not to have a piece of candy. Okay. But can you imagine? But they never called me once to ask about these people. Because if they did, I would have given her 20 emails. And they wouldn't have been able to write the story. But they don't do that because these newspapers and the media are totally dishonest people, folks. Remember that. Totally dishonest. How about this? When I was making a speech in Iowa, I said, let's raise some money for the vets, right? Think of this. Let's raise some money from the vets. I started saying, before the event, I figured maybe we could raise $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million, I don't know. Then all of a sudden, a lot of guys, thank you, man. You're a vet? Thank you. You know what I'm going to say, right? Thank you. Great people. And we're going to take care of the vets, believe me. We're going to take care of their medical. We're going to take care of the vets. So I said, let's raise some money. I had no obligation. I was supposed to make a speech like this in Iowa. So I start the speech. And during the speech somewhere, I said, let's raise some money for the vets. A friend of mine was there, Phil Ruff, and he gave $1 million. Another friend, Ike Perlmutter, gave $1 million. Great guy. Another guy, Carl Icahn, great guy, gave $500,000. Stuart Raw gave $1 million. I said, wow, we're doing well. And during the course, I said, let's see if we can do $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, $6 million. It doesn't matter. Whatever the hell the number. And a lot of money came in. We distributed. All of a sudden, I'm getting the worst publicity of my life. So here's the final number, but the number could go up because there's more coming in. Because we have to vet a lot of these places. You can't send them a check for $200,000. You don't even know who the hell you're sending it to. So you watched my press conference the other day. So the Washington Post, which is just a ploy for Amazon so that Amazon doesn't pay taxes, so that Amazon doesn't get accused of monopolistic practices, because frankly, they're putting all the retailers out of business, okay? You want to know the truth. And the politicians are afraid of them because the guy bought the Washington Post. But here's the story. So they start doing stories like, how much did he give? How much? Where's the money? When's it going to be delivered? I said, I don't care. It's whatever it is, it is. I wrote a check for $1 million, by the way, $1 million. And I sent it. And I was going to give it to 4 or 5 companies. We couldn't vet them. I just said it was too complicated, so I gave it to one company. But that's great, one group. We gave it to just a great group, the Marines. The Marines, great. A Marine base group. Okay, so listen to this. So here's the end. I raised almost $6 million. $5.6 million has been distributed. I give, it's not easy. I had a lot of people working on it, a lot of work. And you're raising it, and you're giving, and you're doing a lot of things. And you're calling in favors from friends. Frankly, they give you money for other things if you wanted to do it. So I raised almost $6 million, remember this, for the veterans, which we love. I got nothing but bad publicity. I got nothing but bad publicity. And then a group forms outside, a small group, like a few people, 10 people. And they're veterans against Trump. And I said, how can they be against me? I raised all this money. It turns out they were sent there by Hillary Clinton. It's honestly, folks, it's a disgrace. So I'm so proud of it. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. You want the good news? I have received so many tweets and emails and phone calls and everything, letters from the incredible veterans thanking me for what I did, because they get it. They get it. And I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do it. But you know the bad part of that story? I'm so glad I did it anyway, and most people understand. As one guy said, wait a minute. He raised all this money. What did he do wrong? And I gave it to great groups. Actually, one group said, I think like 30 some odd groups, many, many groups. One group said, one of the groups he gave money to was not great. I said, sorry, folks. Unbelievable. Headline. So look, here's the story and the bad part. Other people like me will see what happened to me, where I got nothing but bad publicity, and they're going to say, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to do it. So you have guys that would be inclined to do it, and they're already saying this. If rich guys are calling me saying, man, you shouldn't have done it. I was under no obligation whatsoever to do it. I just said, let's see if we can raise some money for the vets. That's how it started. We raised much more than I ever thought possible. And I got nothing but hits from the New York Times and the dirty Washington Post, which is it is a disgusting newspaper. You know what they have? This is all Amazon money. They have 22 reporters on me doing stories, 22. I get calls every hour. Hope. Did anyone ever hear of Hope Hicks? Where's Hope Hicks? Hope. She gets calls every half hour. This is the Washington Post. We're doing a story on a deal Mr. Trump did in 1973. I said, man, that's a long time. You don't have a good memory. That's a long time ago. They want to do anything. They are discussing. Now they say they're doing a book. You know what they're doing? They're taking all of the bad stories and they're just putting it in, sealing it, doing a book. These are dishonest people, folks, let me tell you. But we're not finished because, see, I don't care. Other guys wouldn't say this. A politician wouldn't say this. They'd say, oh, the Washington Post. I don't care. I couldn't care less because the people understand it. So for the vets, I am very happy I raised that money for you vets. I'm very happy. Even though it got me a lot of bad ink, I'm very happy. I'm very happy. So, and I want to thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody said, do you have thick skin? And I said, I really do. When I do something wrong, and we all do things wrong, I guess, right? Not too often, but we do things wrong. When I do things wrong, and the press writes badly about me, I can handle that. In fact, I congratulate them. I say it's fine. When you do things that are good things, and they try and make it look like it's bad, that's when it's not fair. And that's when you have to fight back. You have to fight for your rights, folks. Remember that. You have to fight for your rights. So here's the story. We're going to build our military bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. And I was against the war in Iraq, and Hillary Clinton was for it. Now she's saying, Donald Trump, do you trust him with the nukes? Let me tell you, my temperament is so much tougher and so much better than her temperament. And by the way, we need a tough temperament. And all of these countries, and remember this, all of these countries that are our allies, she talks about our allies think we're very stupid people because we defend Japan, and I'm okay with that. But we can't defend them and lose a fortune, and that's what's happening, right? We can't. We are not a rich country. We're a poor country. We're a country that owes $19 trillion, soon to be $21 trillion. We have Obamacare, which is a disaster. Did you see in Texas today? Blue Cross, Blue Shield in Texas. Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Texas, just announced, they go through Obamacare, that they're going to have to raise it up 60%. 60%. In other words, you're going to have a 60% increase. Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Texas. This is going to happen all over. A lot of these numbers are going to do on November 1st. Obama's trying to make it so that instead of November 1st, it's going to be December after the election. We can't let him do that, because I'll tell you what, just on that point alone, they lose the election. On guns alone, Hillary Clinton loses the election on the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment. So we're going to rebuild our military. Our military is very sadly depleted. You have to see the numbers. The number of ships we have compared to 15, 20 years ago. The number of soldiers, the number of everything. Our equipment is old. I saw on CNN, I thought it was amazing. CNN did a profile of our pilots and the planes. And they're talking, these pilots are great pilots, jet fighter pilots. These are great people, great people. And they show a plane that's like 17, I think it was an F-18. It was like 17 or 18 years old. And it looked it. And they said, and these were active fighter planes with fantastic people at the helm fighting. And they said, no, the planes are very old and they're falling apart. And what we do is we go to the plane graveyard. Did anyone see that? And we take parts. We take parts off old planes that are sitting in the graveyards, and we take parts off planes that are in museums. Did you see that? And we use the parts and we put them on the planes and we fly them. And the pilot said he was there for like 15 years. He said, no, I'm going to get out. It's so sad to see. That's what's happening in the United States. We can't let that happen. We can't let it happen. Why aren't we getting beautiful new equipment? Why aren't we doing it? And other nations are putting up brand new, beautiful new planes, and we don't have it. It's not going to happen any longer. We're going to build up our military bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. And Crooked Hillary said, oh, Donald Trump, his finger on the button. I'm the one that didn't want to go into Iraq, folks. And she's the one that stupidly raised her hand to go into Iraq and destabilize the entire Middle East, okay? Because that's what she did. So that's it. So, folks, here's the story. We have a country that we love. We have a country that's not working very well anymore. We have a country that's probably on a bubble because you look at interest rates are low and yet nobody can borrow the money because rules and regulations are so bad that if somebody wanted to do a great job, whether it's a real estate job or a manufacturing job or any kind of a job, they can't borrow money from their banks. Unless you're rich as hell, I can borrow money in all fairness. But I don't need it. The banks are calling me, why don't you borrow money? I don't need money. If you need money, you can't borrow it. If you want to put people to work, you can't borrow it. Dodd-Frank is a disaster, by the way. It's a disaster. They have very good bankers, and they're going to make some bad deals. They have very good bankers. They can't even, who's running the banks right now are the regulators. They can't loan money to people that want to create jobs. That's part of the problem. There are a lot of problems. There are a lot of problems, but that's one of them. So, folks, here's the story. We're going to change things in this country. We're going to get rid of regulations. I was in West Virginia. Did you see that? I won by the biggest number I think anyone's ever gotten. And when I won New York by a record margin, won almost everything in New York, it was like unbelievable. Remember they used to say, he can't crack 50. Guys like Charles Krauthammer, Donald Trump cannot crack 50. I said, I got 16 guys in the race. How do you break 50? Then I broke 50, and it was like, that's not very good. You should do better than that. Let me tell you. These are inherently dishonest people. Now, I got 78. But you know, when you have, so we started off with 17. When you have 14, 12, 10, 9, 6 people, Even in New York, I had 3. 2 good guys, Ted Cruz, John Kasich. But I had 3. No, I want to save that now for Hillary. Lion Hillary, that lion. She is a liar. No. Ted Cruz is no longer a liar. We don't say Lion Ted anymore. We love Ted. We love Ted, right? We love Ted. Now, we don't want to say Lion Ted. I'd love to pull it out and just use it on Lion Crooked Hillary. Love to say. Because she is a liar. She made up my foreign policy. Donald Trump is going to do this. I said, I never said that. Then Donald Trump is going to do that. And a friend of mine was in the room and said, you never said you're going to do that. I said, that's right. She makes it up. No, she's a bad person. So here's the story, folks. We don't win anymore. We're going to start winning. We're going to win with our military. We're going to knock the hell out of ISIS. We have no choice. We're going to knock the hell out of them. We're going to win at our border. We're going to build a wall. It's going to be a big, fat, beautiful wall. We're going to stop drugs from coming in. And we're going to have people coming into our country, and they're going to be coming in, a lot of them. But they're going to come in legally. They're coming in legally. We're going to get rid of Common Core. We're bringing our education local. So important. We're going to repeal and replace horrible, expensive, disgusting Obamacare. We're going to replace it with something great. We're going to save our Second Amendment from Hillary and all these people that want to kill it. We're going to appoint beautiful, incredible, unbelievable Supreme Court justices. As close to Justice Scalia as we can get. He was great. Great. We are going to make trade deals that are going to bring jobs back to the United States. We're not going to let them devalue their currencies and take our jobs away from us. We're going to start making our own goods from now on, folks. We're going to create jobs. We're going to create wealth for our country, and we're going to be proud of our country again. And we are going to start winning again. We're going to win in so many different ways. You're going to be begging me. You're going to be so upset. You're going to be saying, Mr. President, we're winning too much, sir. We don't want to win so much. And I'm going to say, I don't care. We're going to keep winning because we are going to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you.
Guy threatened to hit me, so if college wants to do anything about that, they can, but I don't think they will. In fact, what I suspect is about to happen is they're going to have their way, which is an instance of just how your college authorities cave at every available opportunity to the worst kind of authoritarianism, worst kind of fascism. They're going to leave them there. Okay. Or alternatively, as I've just been informed, they have a level of spinelessness, like they'll let it carry on, but they'll let them sit here, so we can't really have a conversation with one another. It's very difficult to communicate. I've got this guy pacing around who just threatened to hit me. You're not going to do anything about him? You're not going to get rid of this one?
Thanks to Paul Security. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Great job. Outstanding.
You know what? We can be activists. I suggest we walk to the president's office and complain now, all of us, about. Let us go and complain.
Right? Woo! So my name is Peter Van Voris, and I am the vice president of UCI College Republicans here. So we are all gathered here today because we believe that free speech matters. We believe that intellectual freedom matters, and we're tired of school administrators continuing to trample on the rights of conservative students to speak their minds. The UC Irvine administration is notorious for stifling conservative speech through every way imaginable. The university does nothing to prevent violent anti-Semitic speech, all while using your tax dollars to shame students into not attending this event. But by the thousands of people outside, we know that that didn't work. They continue to deny equal funding to conservative clubs while working to tie up conservative students in the endless bureaucracy of the university. This is a disgrace in a publicly funded university. As conservatives, we will not stand by and watch the left trample on our rights to free speech. We will fight to ensure that the university becomes a place of intellectual diversity once again, and that's why we're bringing in our speaker tonight. Without further ado, the man who needs no introduction.
This is your trigger warning. If you are triggered at any time during the lecture, please quietly find your nearest exit and locate the closest safe space. Ladies and gentlemen, feminists, and social justice warriors, Tumblr-dwelling, non-binary, gender-fluid special snowflakes, UCI College Republicans is proud to present Milo
You mad, bro? I said, tell me what you mad for. You mad, bro? Yo, I said, tell me what you mad for. You mad, bro? Yo, I said, tell me what you mad for. I said, tell me what you mad for. You mad, bro? You mad, bro? Yo, I said, tell me what you mad for.
President Obama, you're fired.
You mad, bro? Yo, I said, tell me what you mad for. I said, tell me what you mad for. You mad, bro? You mad, bro? You mad, bro? Tell me what you mad for.
Where do I go? Here? Well, I'm definitely not getting press secretary after that. Oh, do you like my penis gun? They did so well. They did so well. Tearing down hurtful stereotypes, one penis gun at a time. Oh God! The most ridiculous thing about this outfit is it's taken Obama, the tranny law, and free speech to get me in polyester. Right. Okay. No, you have no idea. It's so hot up here. Right. On to the serious bit, and then we're going to have a nice time. I am Constable Yiannopoulos from the Dangerous Faggot Precinct. And before I begin, I'd like to read you the new campus Miranda rights. You know what Miranda rights are? You know what they say when you get arrested? I've never heard them, obviously. You have the right to listen and believe. Anything you can say or do say or even think will be used against you in a campus kangaroo court. You have the right to a useless gender or race studies degree, for which we will make you pay for the rest of your life and possibly sting the taxpayer too. And if you can't afford one, well, somebody else will pick up the check. You have the right to accept the blame for everything, especially if you're white and male. Not the first time I've had something like this poking in my face this morning. Just adjust that. I'll speak directly into it. Yes, it reminds me of home. Right. Actually, this reminds me of home. That could get tiring after a while. I promise I'm going to get through some good stuff. Okay. Now, you're in luck. I'm not truly the PC police. I am, as I said, Constable Milo, the Dangerous Faggot Police. It's my pleasure to be here. Gosh. Oh, it's so hot. It's so hot in this polyester. You're hot! All right, fine. I'll keep them on. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to explain to you why social justice is cancer. Somebody got a mirror? I've got no. Okay. Social justice is a very intrusive disease, and I'm going to explain as briefly as I can before we get into Q&A and talking to you guys, in the context of law and order and immigration, why social justice is hurting precisely the people that it claims to help. It worms its way in, and before you know it, it starts choking the life out of its host. That's what cancer does. Now, like most American universities, social justice has been rotting your school from the inside. Just last year, the student government passed a resolution to ban the display of national flags, including the American flag, in student government offices. Straight out of, we should sing, shouldn't we? We should sing. They don't like patriotism here, we should sing. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous path o'er the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and walking regular, the warm bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Started a bit high. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, of the After that musical interlude, we'll get to the facts. I started a bit high there, sorry. Straight out of Central Casting, a fellow named Matthew Guevara, probably related to Che, explained that flags can serve as weapons for nationalism, and that the American flag has been flown in instances of colonialism and imperialism. This Che wannabe, who of course is the council representative from the School of Social Ecology, use some very specific social justice buzzwords like a culturally inclusive space and allow everyone to participate equally and confidently. This is social justice cancer in action right here on your campus. Now the facts show that UC Irvine is not too far gone. It's time to save you. That's why I'm here. It's not too late because the resolution was vetoed.
It's fascinating to see how sensible people are repulsed by the interactions with social justice warriors. For example, the alumni and potential students at Missouri who have spoken with their wallets. Anyone else happened at Missouri? Admissions down 33%, I think. They had to close, they had to close 2 dorms. Now, if you listen to any more of my talks, you'll know what sorry, I'm so hot in this. If you listen to any of my other talks, you might know they've had to close 2 dorms because they've got so few new applications. You know what those dorms are called? They're the 2 things you lose when you indulge in social justice. They are called strength and excellence. They've also alumni donations down, I think, probably at the latest count, about $40 million. Good. Considering the hundreds of thousands of newly minted Milo fans who witnessed the crazy reception I've had at many schools like DePaul. Did you see the letter today from the president at DePaul? He practically alluded to me as a member of the KKK, and although I do look fantastic in white, that is about where the similarity ends, although I prefer to have disgusting things done to me by black people. For a closer to home example, consider the Asian population in California. UC Irvine is 58% Asian, a group that has traditionally voted Democrat and supported policies like affirmative action. Now social justice has turned against Asians, with many schools discounting Asian test scores for being too high, punishing them because they work too hard, and California threatening to change their own enrollment rolls for a more diverse enrollment. Asians have quickly and strongly moved against these measures, which is why I see so many of them in my talks, I think. I need a penis because my throat is a little dry. Does somebody have a penis for me? Does somebody have a penis for me? Could I have that? Does somebody have that for me? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Very disappointing. Excuse me. Tastes fine. Before we dive into a set of facts and statistics that may boggle your mind, it's my duty to read you your Milo-approved Miranda rights. You have the right to controversial opinions and speech. You have the right to confront and to disagree with, to rebut, and to question opinions that don't match your own. You have the right to do all of that without being told that you are violating a safe space. You have the right to reject the brainwashing forced upon you by professors that make Obama look like the aforesaid Che Guevara. And most importantly, you have the right to worship your dangerous faggot. Now, I'm not a real policeman, but no, I know. I have had some policemen in me. Sorry, I'll stop. It's cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap. You should stop laughing. It just encourages me. That's not even in here. I'm just... But I do recognize that blue lives matter. Blue lives matter. Black Lives Matter doesn't really care about black lives. It's, as we'll discuss shortly, more of a movement for attention, money, and, like most activism, more money. To achieve these goals, they focus their energies on cases of black men killed by the police. Well, the work of criminologist Dr. Richard Johnson of the University of Toledo explains just how futile this is. And some of this stuff is tough to listen to. Some of this stuff is not pleasant. It's not the kind of thing that you want to discuss over cocktails, but it's important to understand the problem if you're going to fix it, which Black Lives Matter definitely can't. Based on 2012 numbers, it would take 40 years worth of blacks killed by police to equal the total number of blacks murdered by other blacks in a single year. Right. Wow. Less than 400 people a year are killed by cops. 61% of them are white men. 32% are black males. Black men are not killed out of proportion when you consider they're much more likely to interact with police. People are killed by police about as often as they're struck by lightning, but I don't see many protests about storms. Black males are 58% of those killed legally by private citizens in self-defense. And you think, aha, we've got you on something. Except 75% of them were killed by other blacks. FBI statistics on murder lay bare the real threat to black lives in America, and that is other blacks. Black men are about 6.5% of the US population, but they commit 52% of all murders. That has dipped to about 40% in recent years. Black men overwhelmingly murder other black people, and white people overwhelmingly murder other white people. So just like abuse and harassment on the internet, this isn't really a racial issue like that isn't really a gendered issue. Looking at overall violent crime, blacks are 27% more likely to attack whites than vice versa, and 8 times more likely to attack Hispanics. This is the shocking number I hope you take away from my visit. 90% of blacks that die of murder die at the hands of other black people, and that's from the FBI homicide report. 90%. We're not here to talk about why this happens, why 74% of black children are raised without fathers per Health and Human Services, and why the government seems intent on continuing a cycle of destruction within the black community. My message is simple. Black lives don't matter to Black Lives Matter. If they did, they'd be confronting these issues instead of ignoring them completely. Black Lives Matter tries to turn young men like Michael Brown and Jamal Clark into martyrs, but these guys aren't angels. It reminds me of when the UVA rape case. It was feminism's flagship battle in the fight against a supposed rape epidemic on campus. Except, of course, it wasn't true. Neither was the Duke lacrosse case. Neither was Emma Solkowitz at the University of Columbia, Mattress Girl. All of these marquee and flagship cases seem to turn out to be hoaxes. The best examples they can come up with, in fact, are hoaxes. And Black Lives Matter's leadership is a disgrace. There's Sean King, who isn't even black. And, you know, let's see what comes out in the press about all that charity money, but I think we know what's happened to that. DeRay, who's better known for his vest than any actual achievements, and lesser stars like Charles Wade, who was arrested for prostitution and allegedly is also a charity scammer. Now, Chicago is the perfect case study for Black Lives Matter. Chicago, of course, being the home of DePaul. I was out recently and stopped. It's the only event I've ever had to stop. It's the only thing I've ever had to call short. It's Obama's hometown, because of course it is, run by Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who was Obama's chief of staff and worked in the Clinton White House as well. Chicago is a very gun-unfriendly city. Combined with complete domination of the local government by Democrats, it should be a paradise for black residents, given that guns are banned everywhere, right? I thought that's how it worked. Like, if there's a gun crime, you just say, okay, guys, no more guns, and all of the killers and crazies go, oh, all right, then. Gun-free... This of course lays bare the insanity of the liberal mind. You know, there's a shooting at a school, or there's a shooting at a shopping centre, or a military base, and their answer is less guns, not more, so that people can't protect themselves against crazy people who, of course, if you just simply put up a sign saying, no guns here, please, would obviously listen. After my speech at DePaul was shut down by Black Lives Matter, they were quoted in the press saying I threatened their physical safety and could cause a massacre. They said my words could cause a massacre. Well, the massacre did come to Chicago, but it had nothing to do with me. Over Memorial Day weekend, there were 69 shootings in Chicago. The majority of them were black-on-black crime. This ended the deadliest month of May in 21 years. This wasn't a massacre prompted by a gay man's opinions. It was black men pointing guns at other black men, a subject on which Black Lives Matter has nothing to say. Murder was up 40% during the month, and Mayor Emanuel told the press club, we've had some success. I don't know how he defines failure, probably like other liberals. Shootings are up 50% year over year, the third year of increases in Chicago, and these are not legal guns being used. Cracking down on people's legal rights to own firearms, cracking down on the Second Amendment, which Obama clearly hates, is not going to save lives. And if you doubt that, and there's sometimes some idiot in the back saying, where's your statistics from? This is the liberal Chicago Tribune, so you can look it up yourself. If you think murder in Chicago is white people in the fancy parts of town, I'm afraid you're mistaken. Murder in Chicago is a black problem. Black Lives Matter wants nothing to do with it. There have been almost as many murders in Chicago since 2001 as there have been soldiers who have died in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. There's only a gap of about 900 between the 8,300 combat deaths and the 7,400 Iraq murders. That's from Homicide Watch Chicago, which is a media watchdog on crime in the city. That's why black babies in Chicago have to sleep in the bathtub. Because Rahm Emanuel, the Democrats, and Black Lives Matter will not take action. I suppose I'll close out my bit on Chicago by saying if you don't want to end up living in a corrupt hellscape, maybe elect a few conservatives. And see what happens. Because so far it hasn't been working. And this is the consistent problem with black communities in this country, who have, as I said in previous talks, some valid grievances. There are some questions to answer, there is some redress needed, but Black Lives Matter isn't the answer, and continuously re-electing Democrats like Hillary Clinton definitely isn't either. We're going to talk a little bit about illegal immigration, another law and order subject. I spoke about this on my show to Sheriff Joe. Do you know Sheriff Joe? Yeah. I love Sheriff Joe. He's one of America's great characters. And they're always trying to get him. Why? Because his shit works. Because he's effective and they hate it. So what's the latest thing today is they're trying to, some activist judge is trying to get him on racial discrimination because he suggested that if police reports say that Hispanics commit 80% of crime, it might be a good idea to stop Hispanics, on the basis that if you get a police report saying a Mercedes was speeding away at the scene of the crime, you don't go and start stopping BMWs and Fords. That, in the liberal mind, is racist. I think even those of us who've seen episodes of CSI know it's actually just called policing. One of the major law and order problems we have in America is a group that the social justice cancer types love to support, illegal aliens. They're their favorite people. There are at least 11.3 million illegals in America. Pew Research says that's probably much higher. Only Daddy really knows the answer. I mean, he knows it. Daddy, who knows all things, knows the answer. I don't know. We have no idea the true number. Why? Because they don't like to be counted. So they don't reply to censuses. These irritating illegal immigrants just won't fill out the form. About 30% of immigrants come here illegally. That's the Center for Immigration Studies. Half illegals are Mexicans, which is declining, but the slack is being picked up by Central and South Americans. As Mexico gets richer, people from further down south kind of try to make it through Mexico. 6 states account for 60% of illegal immigrants: California, Texas, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Illinois. That's also from Pew. When I walked in, you didn't think you were going to learn things today, did you? Illegals make up 5% of the American workforce. Interesting, 5%. 1 in 20 people working is illegal. Who do you think suffers from that the most? Working class people, blacks, Hispanics, people who came here legally, people who don't have a lot of money, who are here legally and who want to work and who want to get by. And of course the white working classes, which only really Donald Trump has bothered to speak to in the last 45 years of conservative politics, so you can thank him for that. In a country where labour force participation has gone down the entire time Obama has been in office, bringing in unskilled labour possibly isn't the answer. The dirty little secret about illegal alien workers is that the jobs they take hurt black Americans and legal Hispanics much worse than anyone else. Illegals aren't taking computer engineering jobs away from whites. They're not going to threaten you guys. But they do hurt black people. Again, Black Lives Matter somehow omits to mention this stuff. These issues were brought up to Congressional Black Congress by a black attorney, a member of the Civil Rights Commission, Peter Kirsanow. Nobody listened. We'll get to more immigration stuff, I think, later, because I want to wrap up. I've been going on. What I want to take away, what we should take away from all of this is that there's a simple answer to all this, and it's proactive policing. Instead of the Chicago approach and Europe's approach with Muslims having no-go zones where we have to move towards the aggressive policing, that we've seen in New York. Does anyone know what stop and frisk is? No, well, there is a DVD called Stop and Frisk. I thought some of you might have seen it.
Are you in it?
I was younger and I needed the money. Stop and Frisk was a natural extension of the Rudy Giuliani era of policing. Rudy Giuliani, who is something of a sort of, he's like a Voldemort figure for the left. Why? Because, again, his shit worked. Saved thousands of black lives by policing properly. Giuliani turned New York from a nightmare place to live into a pretty great city, into the great city it is now, actually, in a safe place with a vast majority of sex in Central Park is consensual. So, I speak from experience. Only 4 out of 5 times, I don't know. It's fine. Looking back, it was all right. Stop and frisk is a brief stop and questioning of a suspicious person who might have been involved in a crime or might be about to commit a crime. New York cops in the city's worst neighborhoods actively stopped upwards of 500,000 people a year at the height of the program, around 88% of which went on their way with no issue. It's those 12% who had weapons, drugs, and other criminal intent that were caught through stop and frisk. Now, just think about that for a second. Over 1 in 10 people stopped had done something wrong. Over 10%, 12%. That's pretty good, isn't it? That's like a pretty good program. You think, yeah, that's probably quite good use of police time. Yeah, it's racist. Social justice types hate it because the vast majority of stops are black and Latino men, but New York is heavily black and Latino. And newsflash, black and Latinos are the ones committing crimes in black and Latino neighborhoods. Liberal Mayor Bill de Blasio drastically slashed stop and frisks from more than 500,000 or more a year to just over 20,000. In cities where police are afraid to interact with people because of their skin color, they cannot effectively do their job. They can't save lives. And this is the result of social justice, it's the result of progressivism. And when some people don't find the gender stuff I do to be particularly important or significant. They're wrong, but I understand why they think, it's a bit of a waste spending all your time on feminism. I've come here today to talk to you about a different dimension of social justice, a different dimension of far-left progressivism that is more starkly and more obviously poisonous, more starkly and more obviously, yes, cancerous. Because this is a natural extension of the kind of philosophy that pits men against women. Social justice pits blacks against whites, Hispanics against blacks, whites against Hispanics. And it does it in some of the ways I've described. Interestingly, Rudy Giuliani's spoken very favorably about Donald Trump, as has Sheriff Joe. So if you're in any doubt about the presidential candidate most likely to restore law and order to America, I think you have your clue there. Most of the people who understand how policing needs to be done in this country seem to be Trump guys. If you want a good example of proactive policing, just look at how Israeli airline El Al handles security. You will never see a nun getting an intensive search on El Al. And I've never had an intensive search on El Al, more's the pity. Anyone's been to Tel Aviv knows that basically the whole population of Israel is stunning. They're all just out of like a year and a half in the army. They're beautiful. The army in Israel is wonderful. But they do what we now uncomfortably in this country call racial profiling. Why? Because it works. And because it saves lives. Chicago was my big city example in this talk. Do you know if you look at the 20 largest cities in America, the state Chicago is in might explain why it is only Chicago that is losing population. A lot of the people leaving are blacks, wealthy and middle-class blacks, because they're not safe in their own neighborhoods. It's actually a reverse migration south to the suburbs of Atlanta. Because social justice warriors don't particularly care about black children staying alive, but black people do. So those cities that are run by progressives and liberals are experiencing a black exodus. What more do you need to know? Black people don't want to live in cities where these people are elected. And as for Black Lives Matter, well, Black lives do matter, so why don't you pay attention to where blacks are really dying? The streets of Chicago's South and West Side, along with so many other black neighborhoods in this country, Officer Friendly is far less likely to shoot you than the guy selling 8 balls outside your apartment. Seems a bit crazy that it takes one gay British conservative, even one as stunning and handsome, popular, brilliant, talented... Sorry, my speechwriter went a bit crazy. This is looking for a bonus. To point out that Black Lives Matter is not even addressing the right problems. I like to imagine them organising a conference in Antarctica. They'd all show up in beachwear. Except DeRay, of course, he's had that fucking vest on. What Black Lives Matter is doing to black people is manipulating them into doing bad things, overreacting, it's manipulating them into hysteria, it's manipulating them into bad behaviour. We saw at DePaul, for instance, at my speech recently, and it is blinding us to the realities. It is also demonising one of the best institutions in America. You're a very young country, and you don't have many institutions to speak of, certainly nothing like I had. I was in San Francisco once, and I was in one of those speakeasies. You know the place you have to go down like into a basement to drink very bad, very overpriced cocktails. And the owner of the bar very proudly told me the wood panelling was from 1920. I said, my college was built in 1412. So you don't have much in the way of history or institution in this country yet, but you do have a healthy admiration and respect for the office of the President of the United States, and you do have a great institution in the police force. and it's about time that we started treating them with a bit more respect and a bit more thanks. My penis is leaking. And it's, no homo, yeah. No homo. It's about time we tried to treat them with a bit more respect and dignity. It's about time we did the same with the military and with veterans. And those of you who know... Those of you who follow these things will know what a disgusting mess the department that looks after veterans has become under Obama. He just doesn't care. You might not love Donald Trump. You may not be a Trump supporter in this audience. Most of you probably know that I am. But faced with the option of Hillary Clinton, I would advise you, I would beg you, to turn your back on the odious, self-involved GOP establishment, the never Trump losers, and put somebody in office who is going to represent the greatest threat to political correctness this country has ever seen. It's going to represent the greatest threat to social justice this country has ever seen. Who's going to stick up for the military, stick up for the police, and stick up for America. Thank you very much. I won't need that one.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Ariana Rollins. I'm the president of College Republicans, and I'm going to ask him And I'm going to ask Queen Milo about 5 or 6 questions, and then open up the floor for everybody else. So. Obviously, I've never done this before. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the hypocrisy of the social justice movement. Mm-hmm. Instead of having a rational discourse and actual discussion, they find that the most effective method of getting their point across is to protest and to be violent, like you see at Trump rallies. So wouldn't you say that sort of goes against what they're trying to do? They need people on their side, and I would say that for every riot at a Trump rally, there's about 10,000 more votes for Donald Trump.
Oh, for sure. I don't think there's any question that what happened at DePaul created a couple of, 20 or 30,000, by the time everyone had seen it at home on the news, new Trump voters. In a way, we should be grateful for them. I love my protesters, as Daddy likes to say. I saw him in San Diego last week. It was very exciting. It was sort of a religious experience. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say it. Sorry, I'm going to cover up my crosses. I'm not allowed to say that. He loves his protesters like I love mine because they do a lot of the hard work for us. When people at home see this stuff, when parents see this stuff, when they exhibit the shrieking and wailing and yelling, the shutting down, the insisting on safe spaces to insulate them from opinions, and just the general fucking rudeness, the discourtesy that they exhibit toward other people, I think they do a lot of our work for us, and I take heart in the thousands of people who email me, women who email me and say thank you. These feminist lunatics do not stick up for me, do not represent me, do not stand for me, and in the black people who email me and who say it's very difficult to say this, but fucking cunts, and I wish they'd stop it, and I wish they'd have, they'd stop pretending to represent black people. They really don't. I have some faith here. And I have more optimism than most conservatives do, partly because I think Trump's going to get in, but partly also because I'm a naturally optimistic person. I think that social justice has run its course. I think that the ever greater hysteria about ever smaller things is a tell. I think that they realize the jig is up. I think they know that it's not working anymore. I think they know that they're losing. And as difficult as it may be to accept that sometimes under the oppressive conditions of universities with their speech codes and behavioral conduct codes and safe space codes and sexual conduct codes, I think the public is wising up to this stuff very quickly, and I think the public really doesn't like it very much. And sooner or later, politicians have to follow suit. Sooner or later, the media will have to follow suit. And if the media doesn't follow suit, it will simply become irrelevant, which is what's happened to most of conservative media, and good fucking riddance to them.
A lot of the times, the arguments you'll hear from minority groups is that the system is innately oppressive or racist or sexist or something like that. So do you think that rather instead of that this victim mentality is the reason why people do not succeed, why they fail if they do?
Yes, of course. It's easy if you are mediocre and useless at everything, and you decide that being a woman or being black is your only marketable skill. It's really all you have going for you. To buy into conspiracy theories about the patriarchy or about white supremacy that are, if they were ever true, and there is some truth in all of this stuff, little grains of it buried deep, deep, deep beneath the crazy. If it was ever true, it certainly isn't anymore, but it's used, I think, mostly as an excuse for people to explain away why their lives suck. Now, many of these people's lives suck for multiple reasons. We call this intersectionality. Intersectional feminism, which is sort of, queer, disabled, black, lesbian, whatever. Well, your life, honey, is terrible for all sorts of reasons. But it's mostly terrible because you have decided that everything that is wrong in it is somebody else's fault, not yours. I think if, the black people I speak to that get this, like Sonny Johnson at Breitbart, I think Diamond and Silk understand this quite well, are cognizant of the fact that racism does still exist in vestigial, forms. There's bits of it scattered around, sure. But they're not prepared to blame everything that is wrong in their life on a conspiracy theory. And what they would rather see black communities do, and what many of the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of women who, like me, also believe, is the best way to solve your problems is to get up, get an education, get a job, work hard, provide for your family, have a sense of pride, dignity, and purpose in life, and stop looking at other people as the answer to your problems. And this is... This is why I desperately want, blacks to become the natural conservatives I know they really are. Because it is only by buying into the American dream and by buying into that self-reliance and determination that they can ever improve the situation in black communities. We have tried 30 years of grievance politics. We have tried 30 years or more of electing Democrats over and over and over again in these black cities. It hasn't worked. Let's try something else.
So let's talk a little bit about everyone's favorite concept, white privilege. So why is it that the people of lighter skin are collectively judged by the color of their skin and then demanded to make reparations for the things in the past that they have no control over, especially when other races in the past have done the same or worse things?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's jealousy because straight white men built everything. I presume it's not, because that seems like too flippant an answer. The fact that straight white men built, most of literature, art, the internet, philosophy, music, space travel, democracy, property rights, freedom, the rule of law, gave women the vote, gave minorities the vote, emancipated blacks after slavery. Who can say? Maybe it's jealousy. No, I think it's got a little bit to do with that. It's got mostly it's simply that when you move into a country that has been white, and white people have achieved a lot in that country, and you want to buy into it, you want to become part of it, you want to be elevated up into that system. There are two ways to approach this. Either you throw your toys out of the pram and demand special privileges and demand things you haven't earned, or you get into the system and you get cracking and you start to build the best life you can. Whether you're Hispanic coming from Mexico, whether you're a black guy whose family did not arrive in America in very happy circumstances, you can do that, or you can, as I say, look for somebody to blame. Now, this sort of white privilege, the idea of white privilege, as much truth as it may have had in the past, isn't really borne out much by the facts on the ground. Now, if you look at Fortune 500 CEOs or whatever, fine, most of them are white men. That doesn't really affect most people. If you look instead at the statistics on education, if you look instead at the poverty statistics, if you look at where people live and how they live, you discover, for instance, that in Britain, the most educationally underprivileged group of all is, guess what?
White males.
Young white boys. They are by far the group least likely to even get to university. They have by far the most problems. They are in need of desperate help and support. Nobody listens, nobody cares, nobody gives a shit. Why? Because the left has told us that white people are evil and monsters and that, you know, bathing in white male tears is a trendy thing to do. That's sociopathic and disgusting. And it's also not born out. It's also not even remotely based on evidence or reason or fact. And there are tens of millions of people in this country for whom the phrase white privilege elicits nothing but a hollow laugh as they look around their communities with no opportunities, no money, no educational prospects, and think, where's my white privilege? It doesn't really reflect the reality of the vast majority of America, or indeed the vast majority really of anywhere. It is a meme. It is also a myth.
So I think a concept that a lot of people who would say I'm a feminist or I support Black Lives Matter have trouble understanding is that these people no longer want equality. So they claim to want equality for all, but I think that's a fair assessment of what the majority of people believe that they do. I think that they've been lied to. So, but instead
it's so big, I can't.
These people
it just bashes things.
These people who partake in the social justice movement, they then censor, harass, spew hatred, commit actual physical violence against someone because they identify as something, which is something that they've sort of said, oh, I've been prejudiced against because I identify as this or I am this. I'm a conservative. I can't help I was born with a conservative brain. And so
you were born smarter.
So would you say that now on college campuses, conservatives are the most prejudiced against and persecuted minority group?
To explain my quip more fully, it's not actually an IQ thing, it's more likely to be a physical attractiveness thing. You're more likely to be conservative because you're hot. Did you know that? No, it's true. She's a very beautiful girl.
Well, thank you.
All the studies show this. Men with more upper body strength, far more likely to be conservatives. When you do surveys and you show people... I'm shredding. When you show people like a cross-section of politicians and you ask people to rank the hottest, it is almost totally conservatives down to like 0.48, and then you get a few outliers up at the top. Women who are considered more classically or more conventionally beautiful very often end up Republican. And there's some reason to suppose that it is people who are pretty and smart and well-adjusted who don't feel the need to join these victimhood groups. Isn't that a nicer way of saying? Because I get into trouble, you see. Somebody wrote a terrible editorial about me after Santa Barbara, saying all he did was call feminists ugly. And as I said at the time, like everything I do, it's based on fact. Every joke I make is based in reason, based in fact, based in evidence. You are fucking mingers. But there's a serious point to this. It might be why some women end up as feminists. So my advice to parents is to stop your children eating junk food, give them some makeup, maybe put them in pageants, I don't know. Encourage them to be beautiful, and then they'll turn into Republicans. I mean, you've seen the Bernie rallies, right? You go you see, no, come on. You've seen them. You've got these, you look at the pictures of front row at Trump, and you've got people, you've got frat boys, you've got these sort of, nice, athletic looking guys, and their red hats, and these hot, skinny, blonde pearl bitches. Oh, yes. Even me, I'm just looking at the Trump crowds thinking, oh, God. Then you look at the Bernie rally, and they're sort of like, patriarchy! Most of these women could do with a bit of the patriarchy. No, it's not a joke. That's not a joke. Because somebody, was it you? It was someone else. Someone who's here said at my last talk, you just need a good dicking. Actually, there are no studies to back that up. I just think it's probably true. the terrible low sex probably leads you into feminism. I don't know. It's a sort of lesbianic cult now, isn't it? Anyway, so to answer your question, which I slightly lost track of, but I'll try to remember while I'm babbling. Are conservatives the most discriminating against minority on campus? Well, it's tough to argue that and sort of not sound slightly ridiculous, but it does seem to be sort of true if you look at the number. You look at numbers, but you look at who is on campus who gets censored, who is it gets called names, who is it gets called all this, whose speakers get shut down, whose events don't get funded by faculties. Conservatives. The good news for you is perhaps that I'm doing my best to turn the tide. And I was at. Well, thanks. Where was I 2 days ago? They're going to be offended. Where was I 2 days ago? UCLA. Yeah, crazy. So I was on stage with Dave Rubin, who's lovely. He's a talk show host who does the Rubin Report. He's great. And I sort of realised halfway through the conversation, as I said to him, well, your side did this. Your side is crazy, and you didn't call them out, and you didn't stop them. And where are the normal people? He said, well, they're not here. I said, right. So what you're telling me is that the left is either insane or doesn't give a shit. That's the left now. And he was like, and I realised what I'd done in that conversation is turned being a liberal into social stigma. I'd managed to make being left wing really awkward, and I don't think I've ever seen that on a campus before. So anyway, I'll keep up the fight. And if I can, look, I'm all for free speech, but if I can make people embarrassed to admit that they vote Democrat, then fuck it, I'll do it. And they should be embarrassed. They should be embarrassed. Bernie or Hillary? Are you joking? They should be embarrassed. Sorry, I'm losing packs. I don't even know what these things do. Anyway, are conservatives? Well, yeah, probably. Yeah, if you think about it objectively and take out probably.
I agree.
A very long answer to a very short question.
Yes. A good answer.
It tastes better out of here. I don't know why. Is it spring water? What? Carry on.
So the last question I'm going to ask you before I open the floor up for questions from the audience.
Stains on my blue dress.
Is there anything...
Oh, there we go. Got it in the end. I want her as VP pick.
Oh, Monica.
Yeah. I thought this was a good school. My God. No, I want her as VP pick. Wouldn't that be the greatest troll ever? For Trump to go up against Hillary, and it's like, well, I don't know. If I pick my vice president, everyone's like, ooh, is it going to be Newt Gingrich? Well, is it going to be Sarah from Monica Lewinsky? Sorry, carry on.
So, is there anything that you would like to say to the protesters that you've had in the past, currently, and in the future?
Yes, carry on. Please, carry on. Keep coming. You know what? I've told them how to beat me. I wrote a column explaining how to beat me. It was like, calm, be reasonable, bring facts. They're too stupid and self-involved to do that. I've told them time and time again. They won't listen. They want to disrupt. They want to cause a fuss. So let's have it. Because every time they do it, it serves us. Every time they do it, they just damage their own cause. Every time they do it, they get Donald Trump that little bit closer to the White House. So, my message to protesters is keep coming.
So now I'm going to have you pick 7 people first, and then they're going to line up over there, and then I have
to pick 7 people.
You have to pick 7 people.
They're all going to be black. No, I'm kidding. Shall I? Okay, put your hands up, and I'm going to wander, and I'm going to find people I like. All right. All right, you. Who else wants to ask a question? Okay, you.
All right. Milo, I'm here.
The
guy in the blue.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you go. Oh, you're wearing my clothes. You. Step. How many more do I have? I'm going to go to the other side. It's not fair.
The other side?
Well, you have to go queue up here. How many do I have left? 2. You. Yeah, you. Do I have one more?
Yeah,
all right, you.
Yeah.
have you pick more.
Huh?
I'm gonna have you pick more when they're done.
Oh, fine. Good. Because I only went over by 2.
Apparently, no, I went over by 2, and then I had my naughtiness. I was admonished. I had my naughtiness punished. I'm going to be allowed to pick more afterwards, apparently, so don't lose heart.
Milo, first of all, thank you for coming. We love you,
Thank
and
you so much.
I think you said, when did you decide to really take a stand against it? What made you click and do that?
So I used to be a technology journalist, and I discovered that I was getting into a lot of trouble. Thank you for the question. Getting into a lot of trouble saying things like, men are just better at tech jobs. Do we need to apologize for that? And my thinking at the time was like, I don't want to fuck you. Why do I have to be nice to you? Like, we're just better at it. It's just a male brain thing. Like, what do you want from me? You know, you look at the IQ distribution between men and women, and there are way more men right up at the very top ends, like there are at the bottom, you know, to be fair. You know, prisons are full of men, not because the system is sexist against men, though of course it is. Women get much shorter sentences, you know, men get arrested more, all the rest of it. The prisons are full of men because you look at the IQ distribution between men and women. Women tend to cluster around the mean, but men represent all of the sublime geniuses, but also the knuckle draggers. So if you have a little boy, he's more likely to be, you know, a Mozart or a Charles Manson. Actually, they're both clever. Or just make nothing of his life and drop out and do nothing, than if you have a girl who's more likely to make you proud. But this is why this happens. And I noticed that the reaction was extraordinary. And I said, well, isn't this a tech industry? Aren't we supposed to be into like numbers and facts and studies and stuff? Aren't you supposed to care about this? Like, no, this is disgusting, horrible sexism. You can't talk about this. What do you mean you can't talk about this? I can talk about what the fuck I want. I'm going to continue to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it because I find it interesting. I'm going to continue to talk about it. And no, you can't. You guys, I got fired 4 times from the newspaper I worked for. They kept hiring me back on more money, so they kind of hated me that much. But I discovered that in these industries that were male-dominated because they appealed to the male brain, tech, and then later in my career, gaming, these were the industries that were probably the most welcoming to women because there weren't many women there. You know, you can imagine the time. You know, sort of. You know, like, I'm sorry if this offends anybody. Actually, I'm not. You know, just you imagine the programmer types. You know, sort of trail mix. You know, and they're desperate for women to be around them. They want more women more than anything else. And if you're a female startup founder in the tech industry, you get in all these women in tech spreads and like, look at this brave sister. Like in a male-dominated, whatever. You know, it's a huge competitive advantage. And I was thinking, am I going crazy? Like, why every time you walk into the room, like 50 people go, you know? Doesn't matter, you get as fat as you want, they'll still want you. You know? What's the problem here? I couldn't work it out. Anyway, so I discovered that because all these men were, I don't know, they were so what's the opposite of red-pilled? Stupid. They were so dumb. They were allowing feminists, who of course are bullies and choose the weakest possible targets because they're bullies, to go for these industries that attract sort of marginalized autistic types, people who are not as socially and sexually fluent, perhaps, as, you know, field and track stars or whatever. And convince them that there was this structural sexism, completely denying any brain chemistry whatsoever. So I just thought, this is insane. I'm going to start writing about this. And as I found out more about it, I discovered that actually all of society is like that. And that the feminization of politics and the media, the entertainment industry and everything else has made it pretty horrible for men everywhere, and it's getting worse. And if I, as somebody who, you know, freed from the shackles of having to be polite to women, can merely be courteous and respectful and, you know, I'm perfectly polite, but I don't have to say things I don't mean. I don't have to lie to them like you guys do. You know, yes, hello, wonderful, wonderful, you're just as good as a man. You know, at whatever it is. No, men and women are different. They're different. They're good at different things, and that's fine. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We're different. We have different brain chemistry, we have different bodies. That's all right. You know? What I meant, you know, you can say to a woman, yeah, you're just as good as a man at whatever, football. Have you seen women's football? Have you seen women's football? There's a reason, you know, the women's American Olympic hockey team plays high school boys when they're preparing for international matches. I mean, you know, there are things that men are good at and things that girls are good at, and that's fine. Anyway, so I discovered the whole world was like this, and if I, as somebody freed from the obligation to lie to women, as most men are as part of their chivalrous courtship conducts, could start to sort of redress some of that injustice and imbalance and insanity, I would try. Thanks.
All right, so I'm what's considered a non-traditional student here at UCI. I'm 33 years old, and my friends and I have always been conservative. I spent a decent amount of time in the music industry, which is like a progressive fucking hellhole. So there's awareness of who exists. Coming here to UCI, I expected it to be like just another one of these hellholes, but to my pleasant surprise, I found that many students that I talk to, maybe because of the way I look, they're more apt to hear what I have to say. And especially my gay friends. And what's important to me is I get to a point with them where they say, I hear what you're saying and it all makes sense, but it seems like they think I'm trying to pull the wool over their eyes or something, and I can't seem to kind of get past that little valley. And I guess what I want to ask is, when I'm talking to my gay friends, how do I make the case that the progressive agenda is not to their best, not in their best interest?
Oh God, it's so mystifying why any gay person would be left-wing. Or any gay person would be a feminist. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would somebody who loves men and has sex with men and has men's interests in, men's interests as their interests, be a feminist? That's insane. I can come to the conclusion that all gay people are just fucking stupid, but I'm allowed to say that. You look, it seems to me that gays are natural libertarians. I would appeal to their inner sense of mischief and dissidence. All gay people like a little bit of camp culture. They like a bit of RuPaul's Drag Race, a bit of camp and the rest of it. Explain to them that the intellectual hinterland from which that stuff comes are the great queer dissidents, whether it's William S. Burroughs or Quentin Crisp, people who reacted against the establishment of their times, who were unafraid to be difficult, dissident thinkers. Today, to be punk rock, you have to be a conservative. And it's quite clear that lots of the things, whether it's trans bathroom hell, this awful thing, or whether it's any of the other thing. I mean, progressives are now coming for white gay men, because we're apparently privileged too. The progressive left does not act in gay people's interests because, and I think this is the way to get through to them, if they're not going to listen to reasoned facts, get to them through culture, because that tends to be more effective. Say to them, look, these people want to control your speech. They want to control the words you can use. They want to tell you what's problematic. They want to tell you who you can love. They want to tell you whether your Grindr profile is racist. This is a real thing. It was in the Daily Beast. Like saying white saying your Grindr profile is racist. It's not racist. It's just a sexual preference. Mine says blacks only. Is that racist? It doesn't actually. I've said this joke so many times, but I'm going to tell you again anyway because I like it. It's the only thing that ever got cut from a column of mine. I don't actually say blacks only because that's offensive. I just say, don't contact me if you're under 7 inches and you know who your dad is. It's the only thing they've ever cut from a column of mine. Again, grounded in fact, 70%. It's fine. I'll be daddy. Get to. Oh, come on. Where did you think you were coming? The way to get through them is culture. Say, look, the best things about being gay are the mischief making. And to be a mischief maker, you have to at least be a libertarian these days. And it is precisely the highest and most perfect expression of gay culture is gay culture at its most raucous and at its naughtiest, at its most subversive. And gay culture is basically dead. It is boring. There's nothing interesting about it whatsoever. If you're a gay person and you want to re-examine, re-explore what has made gay people great in history, it's not gay marriage. It's not getting a dog, and with a boyfriend that turns into a husband you hate, and a job you hate, and a Volkswagen Golf. No, it's not any of those things. It's tumbling out of a nightclub on a Monday afternoon off your tits on ketamine, and nobody can judge you for it. But it's also being artists, being musicians, being at the creative forefront of civilization and culture, and all of those things. The most genre-defying works of art are impossible in a society that polices culture according to these ridiculous norms. And if you want to be somebody who pushes forward the boundaries of thought and speech and creativity, you cannot exist in a world ruled by social justice. It's the single greatest reason why gay people should reject it completely. Hello.
Hey, my name is David Turian, and I'm actually coming here to reject what you are proposing here.
Okay.
And I came here to do it respectfully because I don't think what these people are doing outside is effective. I figure you could give me a few minutes to speak my piece, if everyone's open to that right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't it sad when somebody has to apologize for 100 people outside and we give him a round of applause for being reasonable and polite? This is the current state of the left.
Well, let me speak first.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You probably won't like what I have to say, but anyway.
That's fine. All the more reason to say it.
Anyway, I wanted to ask the audience, how many people here who considers themselves anti-feminist or anti-social justice warrior, just a show of hands, like how many of you have ever taken a basic introductory perspectives on gender course? Yeah, that's exactly
Why would you
what
willingly infect yourself with cancer, sir?
Because I think that what you're doing is spreading misinformation about feminism. I think in order to understand feminism, you have to do your homework, and that includes getting a proper education to understand what these issues are that feminists are talking about. The word, when I took a class at Cal State San Bernardino, it was called Perspectives on Gender, and it was taught by 3 professors of different disciplines that gave us the humanities, social science, and natural science basis for a lot of these ideas that feminists are talking about. They didn't come up to us over our heads and beat us over the head with the patriarchy or, safe spaces or any of this crap you talk about, which, by the way, I agree with you on a lot of these things. You don't have to accept these things to be a feminist, by the way. And I think that's kind of what you do, is you kind of straw man feminists and think that that's what it's all about when you don't know what you're talking about. Frankly,
I think what we have to do, because feminism is probably the movement in intellectual history has been the least able to consistently, reliably define itself. And I'm sure it's got nothing to do with the fact that it's all women. But it's been the movement that has never been able to agree on a single definition of itself. So what we have to do is to look externally and see, what does it look like? What do they say? What do they do? So I look at the prospectuses of gender studies courses and women's studies courses. I find them wanting. I look at the columns from feminist journalists.
Okay, good.
Well, let's hear from somebody else.
Well, no, the thing is that I think this whole campus tour, what you're trying to do is sidestep the entire academic process. Your ideas have not passed peer review. You haven't done your scientific research. You haven't even done anything. And you can laugh at me all you want. Go ahead, try to make me into a Trigglypuff.
Could you give an example of something that you've learned in that class that you would
Example. Let me tell you what I've learned in that class.
Isn't everyone?
We have learned that basically there is a basis in natural science, social science, and humanities for a lot of these issues. And if you understand the underpinnings, when feminists come to you talking about the patriarchy, you're not going to freak out and think it's some big conspiracy. You're going to understand what they mean. So I would encourage everyone in this class to sign up. And if you can't do that, go to my YouTube channel, David underscore
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we've been going for a long time and I still haven't heard a decent question.
It was one question.
I think we're done, so thank you very much. It's time for you to give the mic to somebody else. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I listened to you for over an hour.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable. So in that. All right. No. Let's be respectful. Let's be respectful. He came here. Look. Let's be nice. Let's be nice to the poor guy. He arrived perfectly respectfully. He was triggered by the end, but he started off perfectly respectfully before his rage quit. Now in that word salad, I'm going to do him a favor because I'm going to try and distill down what I think he was trying to say, which is that I'm mischaracterizing feminism. What I was trying to say to him was we only know it by what we see, right? We can only judge it by what it produces. It produces lies. The sorts of gender studies and women's studies, sort of feminism that he is seeking to to stand up for has produced the lie of the wage gap, which suggests that women are paid less than men for the same work. They're not. It has produced the lie of campus rape culture. It has resulted in an atmosphere in which it is fine to belittle and demean and criticize men for their organs and their orientation. It has created a culture in which kill all white men, masculinity so fragile, and I bathe in male tears become not just permitted, but encouraged. Those are the results of the kind of gender feminism that he would like to stick up for. And frankly, I'll save myself the time with the textbook.
First off, I'd like to say I missed you at LBCC yesterday.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. No,
I
it's fine.
was trapped in a hotel room by my management. I'm sorry.
I could tell that. No, we figured that out.
Thank you.
My question also, I'm visiting from Georgia, so I'm using some past experiences. If it doesn't relate to other people, then, you know, like I said, I'm from Georgia.
Welcome.
Roll Tide.
So, my question is, I feel like in high school, and I've seen this through some of my gay friends especially, there's almost this pressure, especially put off by feminists, to be androgynous or different by identifying yourself with a different gender identity, or, you know, just somehow standing out with your gender and your sexuality. There's a pressure to have a different sexuality than what you may actually have.
Yeah, I think it's true.
So, I have a friend or different by identifying yourself with a different gender identity, or, you know, just somehow standing out with your gender and your sexuality. There's a pressure to have a different sexuality than what you may actually have.
Yeah, I think it's true.
So, I have a friend.
I don't really believe in lesbians, but we'll save that for another day. The other sort of thing that you're touching on is gender identity. Gender identity is a sort of cruel. It's a sort of cruel torture inflicted on young people by the progressive left. It is probably the worst example of systematic child abuse since, you know, the satanic ritual abuse scandals, which turned out not to be true, in fact, in the 90s. The most widespread systematic child abuse I can think of is telling, as they do in Canada, young boys who find themselves sexually exploring other young boys, that they must be women. What the evidence suggests is if you leave them alone, they grow up into perfectly well-adjusted gay men. But now the trend, and it is that, the trans trenders, are encouraging, you know, parents to say that their child was born in the wrong body. Most of this genderqueer stuff started on the left as part of the war on men, as a way of hating men. To get at men, you have to deconstruct and criticize and attack all of the things that make men men. So first of all, you have to say, well, none of them are real anyway, they're all social constructs. They're not. There's plenty of reason to suppose there is a basis in biology for certain male behaviors, there certainly is for male physical attributes. And once you've done that, and you've said all gender is a social construct, it's a performance, you can then start to rejig it and reorganize it according to your own warped worldview, which wants everybody to be exactly and completely and totally the same, all as ugly and miserable as me. And one of the you know, this sort of genderqueer asexuality stuff is basically you know, people who can't get a date trying to tear down the barriers between men and women because they don't conform to those stereotypes themselves. And even left-wingers sort of tacitly accept this. If you look at what Lindy West was writing in Jezebel a few years ago, she was saying, you know, well, because I don't conform to traditional beauty standards. No, because you can't stop eating. Because you don't conform to traditional beauty standards. You know, that's why she became left-wing. Well, she's just spelt it all out for you guys. They told you why they're like this. Women who don't look like women, who aren't happy with how they look, aren't happy with how they are. Men who aren't happy with how they are, try to ruin it for everyone else. And this is the essence of social justice. It is miserable, damaged people trying to make the rest of us as fucking miserable as they are. And this is... This is how you fight it. You turn your back on them turn your back on them in a charitable but good-natured Christian manner, and you say, you know what, thank you, I'm sorry you're miserable, but I'm going to get on with my life, and I'm going to have a happy, wonderful life. I'm an upbeat, joyful person. I'm going to have a great life. I'm going to have a nice car, a nice house, a Wi-Fi fuck every day, you know, and beautiful children, and everything that I want, because I'm not going to allow you to tear me down to the level of somebody who doesn't know who they are or what they are, and suggest, and allow you to dictate social norms to the rest of us. It's very distressing to me that the people least qualified to lecture us on anything are the ones given platforms to lecture us on everything. The people who are least qualified, I mean, you know, it's like, you pick your fattest, ugliest, loneliest, most horrible failure of a friend for dating advice. Well, that's what women are doing when they go to feminism for advice on how to be that the people least qualified to lecture us on anything are the ones given platforms to lecture us on everything. The people who are least qualified, I mean, you know, it's like, you pick your fattest, ugliest, loneliest, most horrible failure of a friend for dating advice. Well, that's what women are doing when they go to feminism for advice on how to be a woman, you know? It's insane.
Hi Milo, my name is Nestor, and
Hello.
it's great meeting another gay Trump supporter.
We're an endangered species. We're the real oppressed minority in America.
You know, that's what my question is. What would you tell people that are afraid to come out as Trump supporters in a state like California?
Isn't it sad? You see, we have to come out twice. We have to come out twice. First is easy. You're gay. Oh, fantastic. You could take me shopping. You're going to be so beautiful and fabulous. You're going to listen to all great music. Mom, I'm a Trump supporter. Oh, God. You know, I could have coped with it if it was that slimy amphibian Ted Cruz. You know, looks like something looks like Lion Ted. Looks like something I left in a tissue. Looks like something that slides out after I remove my cock. No, I'm kidding. Too far, too much. That's Santorum. I didn't even plan that, I just realized. Okay, no. I would give you a similar answer to the one before, trying to, you know, talk to people about the fun and mischief and dissidence. Trump is definitely an engine of chaos, and I think gays at their and slap an Obama on the bottom and tear up a tranny law thing and then stand up and demand attention for an hour. You know, straight people don't get to do this. You know, I mean, Trump is like a gay icon in that respect. He's just as ridiculous as we are, I think if we want to rediscover what makes gay people wonderful, it's fairly obvious where their political allegiances should rest, and that's with the fun, mischievous, dissident, politically incorrect candidate who is going to rip apart the nannying and the poll clutching, the people who want to control what we can say, do, think, be, all that kind of nonsense. Trump is a natural and very obvious candidate for gays, and in fact, I would give you just a word of encouragement, because I don't know how many other gay Trump supporters you know, but I was at the rally in San Diego. There's fucking thousands of them. So don't worry, you're not alone. Go look them up online. There's tons of us, and remember, you're making the obvious logical choice, and anybody who looks at you askance or with confusion in their eyes, they're the ones with the problem.
You spoke about the best way to reduce black-on-black violence would be to do proactive policing.
Mm-hmm.
Why shouldn't we instead just save blue lives and black lives at the same time by ending the drug war?
Oh, absolutely agree. That's definitely part of it. The war on drugs is a horrible mess. I sometimes like to be mean to libertarians because, by and large, they deserve it and they have such thin skins. It's fun. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. They're worse than feminists. But no. But one thing they're definitely right on. The war on drugs has been a colossal disaster, and although I have the utmost sympathy with social conservatives who, want to protect people from themselves by removing drugs, removing the availability of drugs. The fact is, nobody has a fucking clue how addiction works. The only thing we know is, that when people get into trouble, bullying and punishing them doesn't seem to work very well. The one thing I think we also know is that it has been a disaster for race relations and disaster for law and order in general. I know that some of the people I quoted earlier might not agree with me on that, but certainly the war on drugs has been a useless disaster.
Hey Milo.
Hi.
Thanks for coming down to Orange County.
Thank you.
Hope you've enjoyed our good Mexican food and calm ocean breezes.
Thank you.
If you've been watching the debates and researching candidates' history with who they've accepted money from, who they've given to, and who they've endorsed, you know that Donald Trump has been registered as a Democrat and has donated money to the Clintons over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for a person who is on that fringe of wanting to vote for Trump because two of his other candidates were knocked out, Rand Paul and John Kasich, what do you have to say to those?
You started off so intelligent.
What do you have to say?
I liked you so much.
Don't stop, please. What do you have to say to the people who are afraid that they might be voting for a quote-unquote liberal in disguise?
Well, I think anyone who thinks that he's running sort of interference or running some kind of undercover campaign for the Clintons is insane. He's clearly not doing anything with the Clintons, and just wait till you see what he unleashes on Hillary. Crooked Hillary, it's brilliant. How does he come up with these? How does he do it? How does he do it? I do this for a living. He's fucking brilliant. It's just the right word. Just the right word. Look, it's very straightforward. He was a businessman. I'm a fucking nutcase rabid conservative, and if I've been running a company, it had been politically and if it had been economically expedient for me to donate to every fucker politician in the city, I would have done it. If I could have gone to, and if I'm a businessman not running for office and I get to go to like the Clinton wedding, of course I fucking go. I don't see anything weird about that. What's weird is imagining that a businessman would cut himself off from 50% of political influence for a political run in 20 years' time that he doesn't even know he's going to do yet. That's mad.
Hi, baked Alaska in person. So I'm a junior in high school. I'm going into my senior year.
Very beautifully dressed junior in high school.
Thank you.
Perfect, perfectly. Is that the seafoam?
Yes, it is.
Yes, seafoam. It's my favorite color in the collection.
I have a good eye.
You too.
So I will be applying to colleges next year, and I wanted to know, over the course of your tour, from experience, what colleges are the best for a sane, reasonable person?
Oh God,
just
stay home. Just stay home. Oh God, I can't in good faith recommend you go to any of the schools I've spoken at. Not one of them. But I'll give you, you should of course go to college and apply to college. So here's my advice. There are a lot of schools where there are very sound, reasonable groups of people who simply don't get involved in campus politics. And so when I was at Bucknell, which is one of the first stops on my tour, there's a small liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. Batshit insane. The faculty gave the poor kids organizing. He works for me now, Tom Saccotti. He's going to be a great reporter. They gave these kids so much hell trying to put this talk on, like throwing conditions on at the last minute. All of the slimy tactics that university administrators use to try to get things cancelled without cancelling them. We got through it, we did great, and then I spent 2 days just partying with like Sid Kai and Fiji, and it was great. What they've mastered, what they've worked out is that you just don't go anywhere near campus, and then you can have a nice time. So I would encourage you to find a school that has a really, really healthy Greek system. Because if you find a school with a good Greek system, with good, strong fraternity life, you're going to discover plenty of people who are not mental, you're going to have a great social life, you're going to be able to avoid a lot of the insanity that happens on like campus universities where everyone's packed in together, and you're going to be able to avoid the vast majority of the nonsense that ruins people's lives who spend all their time on campus. So that I can't give you a specific school in perfectly good faith, I can't. But even at Bucknell, there was a thriving, enthusiastic, and really fun. I didn't want to leave, even at Bucknell. So you'll be fine. You'll find good friends. You'll find good people to fall in with. Just go somewhere with a strong Greek system.
Also, will you be doing pictures and signatures after? Because I'd like to get my patriarchy signed.
I will not let you leave without signing that shirt. I'm going to. Sorry?
It has to be inside. Too many protesters outside.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're going to do it inside. I'm also going to beg your indulgence. And I'm going to let me, because I don't know how many, this isn't a very gay room, so you might not have entirely understood what I meant by the polyester thing, but it's really fucking disgusting. It's so sticky and horrible. So when we're done, I'm going to very quickly run and change, but then I'm going to come straight back, and then I'll meet everybody, and we'll be here as long as it takes. But I looks really good, so it's fine.
Quick question.
You have some fans of the audience.
Well, it's thank you for that, and kind of keen on the importance of standing up against political correctness, particularly when lives are on the line. Mm-hmm. And when we look at Donald Trump, there's a really perverse hypocrisy on that. Mm-hmm. We look at Pamela Geller, who many people in this room won't know. She's probably on the forefront of fighting Islamic terror in America. Right. And she organized the Draw Muhammad cartoon in Garland, Texas. Yeah. And I thought, I'd enter that, but good gravy, what if I won? The $10,000 prize wouldn't cover a half month's worth of security for all the danger that she put herself in. And actually, it would have been the worst massacre in America had the guards not shot the two Islamic jihadists that were storming it. Yeah. Blood. It was one of the most brave things in the last 10 years any woman had stood up to do.
Yeah, I think she's pretty cool.
You do, but Donald Trump doesn't. Now, when Donald Trump was asked about this, he said, what, don't they have anything else better to do in Texas than draw Muhammad? We don't need to be antagonizing these people. He said about Pamela Geller, no, she's a bad leader. This is a woman, when we needed a leader to stand up against political correctness, when people were literally going to be murdered, he took a powder.
He was wrong.
Okay. Second one, I appreciate that. Second one, you're British, so you may not appreciate it, but the earliest lesson on American justice and the American way is Herbie the Love Bug. Don't know if you've ever seen it or not.
I have not.
Okay. So it's a magical card. There's an evil developer, and he wants to build Hawk Towers, which is a big H, which is kind of funny because Trump went on. Anyway, there's a little old lady who won't sell her house.
You're talking about eminent domain now. Right?
And he can't get her to sell. He can't get her to sell. And in way back when, it wasn't even a concept that you could employ thugs from the government to take the little old lady's house. Yep. So he gets goons to harass her, and it's a magical Volkswagen that saves the day against somebody who would use thuggish tactics. And now we have a president who's down with that. He's violating.
We may have a president.
May have a president who violates the most cherished, earliest political lesson anybody will learn, because you can't use thuggery to take somebody's private property, and I can't imagine you're down with that either.
No, I'm not. I don't think that he's a perfect candidate, and I don't think if you spoke to anybody else who likes Trump that they would say that he's a perfect candidate. Ann Coulter doesn't think he's perfect. Ann Coulter said on my show she thinks he's mental. But he's so good on the wall and so good on trade that she's going to vote for him anyway and try to stick up for him. Look, Trump shoots from the hip a lot. Sometimes, doesn't look into things. I think I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that. Well, why would I care? I don't care if I get in trouble for saying that. I want to be press secretary so bad. Daddy likes to, Daddy's asked many times on many things, and he's not a professional politician. He hasn't had 40 years to come up with the right answers to everything, to look into everything. I don't, for instance, think that he gave very much thought to the transgender bathroom issue. I think he one of two things happened. He either didn't give a shit about it, so just, and didn't look into it, and thought, you know what, nobody cares about this, and he's right about that, by the way, nobody cares outside of university campuses. Ordinary people really don't care about this stuff. He correctly calculated nobody would care and thought, I'll just wrong foot the liberals. Or just gave an answer without, really perhaps not without sitting down for a 4-hour briefing about it. Who knows? Eminent domain stuff, it's inexcusable. It is inexcusable, but I don't think we've ever had a candidate for president who is crafted from marble, the vision of the Platonic ideal of conservative perfection. It's very clear Donald Trump isn't that, It's very clear he's not the perfect candidate, but the effect of Donald Trump, the overall results of a Donald Trump presidency, I think will be positive for the things that I care about, which is free speech, liberty, and destroying political correctness. On the Pamela Geller thing, I think it was simply wrong. But I think he'd probably, if he sat down and had a conversation with you about it, probably agree with that. How many? Okay. I'm allowed to pick 3 more. Is anybody else wearing my clothes? Oh, terrible. Oh, there is? Oh, well, you first then. 2 more. Come on. Can I come this side this time? Splendid. Good choice. It's a nice color. I like it too. That's the one I have.
Milo.
This is kind of good.
He does have a question.
You have a question?
Yeah.
Then come.
Yes.
This is lovely. You have to. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, so
hi.
Hopefully, there's some other people in this room or that are listening that also can kind of relate to what's going on with what I'm seeing at my university. So when I enrolled as a criminology and criminal justice major, and the faculty in that department have slowly just made changes to it throughout the time I've been there, and now it's referred to as criminology and justice studies. And this justice part is referring to social justice, and it's one of those degrees that you joke about as being useless, women's studies, race studies.
Anything ending in studies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
and,
don't waste your parents' money on anything ending in studies.
And unfortunately, I'm stuck in it, and I'm hoping to transfer in the spring to a real degree program at a different school.
Yeah.
But what should I do in the meantime? Because, I'm, as a conservative, I really just don't fit into the program, and as a straight white male, they already just cringe. They just cringe at my existence. But so what can I do in the meantime?
Are you allowed to leave? Can you go and do something else? Can you go volunteer for the police or something?
No, I still have some prereqs to make and stuff. That'll also help with the next.
Well, the only advice I can really give you, and I'm sorry this isn't hugely happy advice. This isn't the best thing. This is not what you're going to want to hear. But people who have seen my talks before are going to know that this is the case. The best advice I can give you is keep your head down and get it done. What these people want to do is to destroy your prospects by catching you out, by making you lose your shit, by making you to have some big moment where you drop out of school, or you fight with your professors, or you do something to to ruin your own chances. Well, your success is the best revenge you can have against them. Transfer out, do a real subject, but keep your head down and get your grades while you're there now. Because the greatest victory you could hand them would be to do something brave or do something to protest. Just get through it.
All right, thank you.
So I've only just started following you, Milo. I think you're amazing. Your videos are amazing.
Thank you.
They make me half open to society again, right? I just wanted to know, what are your views on abortion? What are your views on Trump and on abortion? And what do you think about feminists and always demanding, free stuff for abortion?
I think it's murder. And I don't think that dressing it up in nice words and saying, it's a women's right to choose her reproductive choices and women's bodily autonomy should obscure the fact that we're talking about the murder of another human being. That's not a particularly popular position among young conservatives, I accept that. But it's informed partly by my Catholic faith and partly by my reading and thinking and my political philosophy, my social philosophy, what I feel in my heart. I think it's spoken of too lightly. I also think there's something creepy and disgusting about how enthusiastic liberals are to fund Planned Parenthood, which is basically a black baby killing machine. And it's anyone who knows anything about the founder, Margaret Sanger, who was a eugenicist who specifically started Planned Parenthood to keep the black population down, who described black people in disgusting terms and who Hillary Clinton has praised effusively. I think you can see in the genesis of that organization exactly what it was set up to do. Like I say, my pro-life position is not going to be hugely popular among a lot of young conservatives because I realise that social conservatism has had its day. I agree with young conservatives on most things, but probably not that. And Trump has been flip-flopping on it, and I wish he would stop.
I love that answer. I love it.
Well, my name is Kevin.
Kevin!
Hello, Kevin.
Thank you for choosing me for a question. But my question is, I've been someone who's very anti-social justice and anti-feminist and doing a lot of reading and stuff into that area. And I've come across some views that say that the problem that we have at universities is not a problem within itself, but a symptom of a larger problem. A problem that we have nowadays, like with society.
It's certainly true that some of this stuff is bubbling up in high school. And it's certainly true that the sort of therapeutic culture which is replacing rigor and challenging academic environments at universities is happening at high schools. And it's being taken up very enthusiastically in high schools because, of course, high schools are supposed to be slightly more nurturing spaces. They are supposed to be, when you go, people start school at 4, 5, 6. They are supposed to be homes from home, and they are supposed to some degree, coddle and guide young kids through life. So social justice is making great enthusiastic headway in these places because it sort of is already what those teachers are there to do. They're all, slightly dim but nice people who just want to, spend time around around children because they don't have any of their own. Whatever. It's just statistics. It's just statistics. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. If you don't like it, go look it up. Lower than average intelligence, childless, people in their 20s who just want unconditional love quite often become preschool teachers. And, they of course have that nurturing instinct, and it's mapped very, very, very well, I think, as this sort of cancer has started to spread elsewhere in society. Whether it's a symptom of social justice, a symptom of a larger problem, I think social justice is the problem. I think it is a result of a number of different things, including white guilt. I think middle-class white guilt is a big problem. Us feeling bashful and ashamed of our accomplishments and willing to listen to people almost no matter how insane they are, who say that we only have what we have because we fucked somebody over once, or we only have what we have because we're racist or sexist or oppressors or whatever. We're very ready to listen to those hucksters and fraudsters. We're very ready to listen to those sharks like Al Sharpton, the shakedown merchants, because we sometimes lack, we're sometimes not very good at being proud of our accomplishments in the West. And it's sure we've done some bad things in ancient history, but so is everybody else. And there's something about Western civilization, European and American culture, which is slightly self-effacing, despite all of the sort of America fuck yeah stuff which we all love and we all enjoy. There's something when you calm down a little bit and you sound more sensible, there's something a little bit more diffident and self-effacing about our culture that you don't always see elsewhere in the world. And I wonder whether that's been capitalized on by hucksters and charlatans and frauds. People selling snake oil. And this you got to remember, this happens in every civilization in history. This is how the Roman Empire came to an end. This is how all great civilizations fall. I don't know whether this one can be saved, but I certainly hope to do a little part in arresting the decline. Social justice, I think, is a symptom of many things going wrong, many things being slightly sick with society, self-indulgence, the cult of the self, all sorts of things that take root in that sort of late capitalistic period of intricate symbiosis between government and private institution and everything and that incestuousness and the elitism of sort of late capitalism. I think social justice is we're at a point now where we're either going to save America and save Western culture and stop admitting terrorists under the banner of like, oh, let's be nice and have all these immigrants and all the rest of it. Just stop admitting terrorists into your country. Stop taking people who don't want to pay taxes and be part of the system. Stop accepting people who are tearing down statues in universities from great thinkers, great explorers and all the rest of it because they were straight white males. These insane people who I saw a headline at Seattle University. Seattle University students have demanded that they stop teaching English because there are too many straight white males on the curriculum, and they couldn't. It wasn't good enough for them to go in and just be like, could we have more black female authors? Could we have more disabled authors? Could we have more paraplegic Syrian refugee authors? That wasn't. They couldn't find enough literature good enough from anyone else. It was the straight white men that wrote all the best stuff. So they said, well, just close the subject then. That's obviously a sickness, and that's why I refer to it as one. And I hope that we can save ourselves from being consumed by it. I think we can.
So I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight to Social Justice is Cancer. I'd also like to thank Milo for being so incredibly entertaining and informative.
Thank you so much. These guys did an amazing job. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to thank you because I don't know if you saw my entrance to Santa Barbara on the throne. I came in on a litter like Cleopatra, being held aloft by 8 guys in Trump hats. And I didn't imagine that anybody would be able to upstage that entrance. But you have, with this a bit of theatre, at least matched it. So thank you for all the hard work you did, and thank you for having me.
So I've heard there's still a bunch of protesters outside. I guess they really wanted to see him, huh?
Pacifiers. No, I'm not. I try not. The police do an amazing job at these things. I don't want to. I would love to take you all out there, take a microphone, and take these cameras and go and rip the piss out of them, and I would love to go out there, even and have a serious conversation and go and say, all right, and go, no, we shouldn't laugh. We shouldn't laugh. She's obviously very troubled. But so funny, so fun. I put it on a Vine just purely for my own entity, because I got tired of pressing play, because I was watching on a loop on YouTube and I was getting sick of pressing play again, so I put it on a Vine just like, it's like watching the washing machine, you just can't take your eyes away. Anyway,
We don't want to trigger any of that. So I'm not going to do that. But thank you for everything. And yes. I keep interrupting you. I'm so sorry.
It's good. It's all good. So for everyone's safety, you're not going to be allowed to exit from those doors. So if anyone wants to exit now, or wait until Milo changes, comes back, and then you guys can all take pictures.
Like 2 minutes, I promise.
You have to leave through that exit. This one down here. So.
All right. Well, when I come back. Thank you. When I come back, I'm going to be here. So if you want to queue up, then the best thing to do is queue up this staircase. Up this.